Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra Mai. Jagannatha, Jaya Jagannatha, Jaya Baladeva, Jaya Subhadra Mai. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev.
Send the link from which?
The book. Oh, yeah. I want to get the copy. We'll read from the book.
Straight
Only
to
the prayers book.
Ajay, the book card.
ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। My dear Lord, please guide us all so that we can find strength in your words and align ourselves to fulfilling your will, thereby achieving the destiny that you want for all of us. Hare Krishna. I'm grateful to be here with all of you today. So you'll be given a copy of a book. So this is just for reading in case any of you want. We'll have the book available after the class, but I'll be reading from this book. I'll also be displaying the book over there online. Just give it to everyone. I have online available. So yeah, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So, we welcome everyone for the seminar series. It's so heartening to see so many of you coming in for this evening. So, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu is no stranger, I think, just for my benefit and my purification, I'll just like to introduce Prabhu briefly. So, Prabhu has been a stalwart teacher and Bhakti Yoga practitioner for almost 30 years. He's probably very famous for his spiritual scientist website where he shares realization from Bhagavad Gita pretty much every day. But more importantly, Prabhu has been preaching prolifically around the world. I mean, he spent 9 months of his more than 9 months traveling, mostly in US and the Western countries. Prabhu is part of Shastri committee of ISKCON, and he's the one who does get involved and is involved in some of the sensitive topics within the organization and outside. And also, Prabhu represents the movement in a lot of things of faith, other dialogue. So he's someone who is in and out, preaching to youth, to the congregation, also dealing with the general public and even the interreligious forums. And also Prabhu preaches a lot in congregation. So we'd like to welcome Prabhu. He has taken out time to be in Singapore for one whole week. And there are going to be a lot of programs Prabhu is going to have. But to start with, we're having him 3-7 days. Prabhu was traveling all through night yesterday, but he has decided to continue from today onwards. So let's welcome Prabhu and express our gratitude by loudly chanting Haribo! Haribo! Haribo!
Hare Krishna. So I'm delighted to be here, and I'm quite grateful that so many of you have come today. It's the start of the week, practically speaking. And we'll be reading from the book which you have. This is Prayers Inspired by Bhagavad Gita. So you can go to page number 44, Shloka 2.14. So in this book I have taken the wisdom, the verses of the Gita, and instead of seeing them simply as sources of wisdom, we are trying to look at them as inspirations of prayer. The Bhagavad Gita is the book which I have connected with the most over the last 3 decades. And many of the verses of the Gita are, for me, not just sources of wisdom, but they are also like close personal friends. And if you have a friend, you want to know more about that friend. And one way we come to know more about a friend is by meeting that person in different contexts. So I have been not only reading the commentaries to the Gita by different acharyas, but also seeing how in other writings the acharyas have quoted the Gita verses. So I found in the prayer composition called the Mukundamala Stotra, one prayer by Kulashekar Maharaj, which seemed to be like a direct prayer inspired by a verse from Bhagavad Gita. Because the verse is 12.7, Teshamaham samuddharta mrityu samsara sagarat. Krishna says, I deliver people from the ocean of mortal existence, those who fix their mind on me. And Kulashekar Maharaj is praying, Samsara sagar nimagna mananta deenam uddhara tumarhasi hare purushottamosmi. He says, my dear Lord, this ocean of mortal existence is endless and insurmountable. Please behoove you to deliver me from this ocean. So the idea is that why does it behoove you? Because you have promised this in your words. So in that sense, the Gita's verse has become like a prayer. So I took inspiration from there. So in this, there are 122 prayers based on the first 6 chapters of the Gita. I hope to bring out 2 more books where we'll have total 366 prayers in future for one full year. So in each of, there is a picture of a deity of Krishna. Then there is a one-sentence spiritual affirmation or a devotional affirmation, like a summary of the prayer. Then there's a Gita verse which I have tried to translate into English poetry. Sometimes the philosophy of the Gita. We forget the Gita is actually a song. So try to get a more poetic heart feel for the Gita and try to do a poetic translation. And then there is a one-page prayer. So we'll read the prayer and we'll discuss one by one points based on it. So let's you can repeat after me. My dear Lord, Let tolerance increase my intelligence, not my impotence. Let's recite the verse. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada agama paino nityas tam stitikshasva bharata. From the contact of the senses with their objects comes joy and pain. These are time bound like winter's cold and summer's rain. They come and go forever, they never stay. Tolerate them all, march firm on your way. Do we have a second mic by any chance, sir? Would anyone like to read one paragraph? Maybe one paragraph Vaishnavas can read, one paragraph Vaishnavas can read. Yeah, yeah.
My dear Lord, I tend to get too caught up in the concerns of the body, its nourishment, its comfort, and the positions associated with it, that the emotional drama surrounding the acquiring and retaining of those things becomes the central focus of my life.
Yes. So, okay. I'll discuss some points and then we can read the next paragraph. So, I'll tell broadly what we are going to do in these three sessions. And then we'll go into today's session. So, when we talk about hard times, we talk about difficulties. I was giving a seminar on the Gita wisdom for hard times. So, I was giving a talk, and one person raised his hand from me. He says, I'm having a hard time understanding this Gita wisdom. So, if you have a hard time, please raise your hand. I'll try to simplify it. But when we have hard times, when we have difficulties, the Gita explains that the difficulties that we face, they fall in different categories. And depending on the category in which the difficulty falls, there's a different approach for dealing with it. So, I'll use the acronym IAS. So, if you understand this, we can all get an IAS degree. So, we can get past the IAS exam. The difficulties in life fall in three categories. Some difficulties are inevitable. We just can't do anything about them. They are part of life. So the verse we read just now, 2.14. This is sometimes it's going to be cold, sometimes it's going to be hot. We really can't do much about it. Later on, Krishna will talk about it 13.9. We are all going to get old. We are all going to get diseased. We are all going to die. There are some difficulties that just are unavoidable in life. Now, some difficulties, some are inevitable, but there are many difficulties that are eminently avoidable. These are difficulties that come because of our own actions. I'll be elaborating all these categories later, but just a broad analysis over here. So Krishna talks about this, for example, in 5.22. Yehi samsprajya bhoga dukkha yonayevate. So for example, if somebody starts drinking and becomes an alcoholic, and then they suffer from terrible liver problems, they get lots of health issues. So is that an inevitable problem of life? No, that's an avoidable problem. So some problems in life are inevitable. Some problems in life are avoidable. And then there are some problems in life that are strengthening. That means by going through these problems, we can become better. Now we can say, isn't it that through all problems we can become better? Well, there are better ways to become better. Isn't it? You don't have to become an alcoholic to give up alcoholism and become better. Isn't it? So all problems are not necessary to go through. So for example, if you want to learn a new language, if you are physically not very healthy, you want to become fit, learning a new language requires some effort. But if you go through that effort, a whole
a whole
new
new
universe
universe
opens for
opens for
us.
us.
Say,
Say,
if we
if
learn
we
to
learn to
do
do
mantra
mantra
chanting, learn
chanting,
to do
learn to do
meditating,
meditating,
it's
it's
difficult. But if
difficult.
we
But if
go
we
through
go
it,
through it,
our mind
our
will
mind will
become
become
calmer, our
calmer,
whole
our whole
life will
life will
become
become
better.
better.
This
This
Krishna
Krishna
talks
talks
about in
about in
18.37.
18.37.
He
He
says,
says,
Yattat
Yattat
agre
agre
vishamiva
vishamiva
pariname
pariname
amrutomam.
amrutomam.
That which
That which
tastes
tastes
like
like
poison in the
poison in the
beginning
beginning
will
will
taste
taste
like
like
nectar
nectar
in the
in the
end.
end.
So the
So the
poison in the
poison in the
beginning
beginning
is
is
painful,
painful,
but that
but that
pain
pain
will lead
will
to
lead to
something
something
better.
better.
So if we
So if we
consider the
consider the
Gita,
Gita,
it's a
it's
part
a
of a
part of a
larger
larger
book.
book.
Which is
Which
that
is that
book?
book?
The
The
Mahabharata,
Mahabharata,
yes.
yes.
Now if you
Now,
look
if
at
you
the
look at the
examples in the
examples in the
Mahabharata
Mahabharata
itself,
itself,
we
we
can
can
consider
consider
something.
something.
If we
If we
consider
consider
Dhritarashtra's
Dhritarashtra's
blindness,
blindness,
that will
that
fall
will
in which
fall in which
category?
category?
Inevitable.
Inevitable.
Now we can
Now
say
we can
that
say
that's
that's
some
some
things,
things,
that's
that's
just the
just
way
the
it
way it
is.
is.
It
It
can't be
can't be
cured, even
cured,
with
even with
all the
all the
sophisticated
sophisticated
medicine that
medicine
we
that we
have.
have.
Some
Some
forms of
forms of
diseases, some
diseases, some
forms of
forms of
physical
physical
limitations
limitations
cannot be
cannot be
overcome.
overcome.
So the
So the
Dhritarashtra's
Dhritarashtra's
blindness
blindness
would
would
be
be
an
an
inevitable problem.
inevitable problem.
Now, if you
Now, if you
consider
consider
all the
all the
schemes
schemes
that
that
Duryodhan
Duryodhan
made
made
to
to
try to
try to
grab the
grab the
kingdom,
kingdom,
which
which
eventually led
eventually
to a
led to a
catastrophic
catastrophic
war
war
that
that
caused the
caused
death
the
of
death of
millions of
millions of
people,
people,
including the
including
death
the
of
death of
the
the
Kauravas
Kauravas
themselves.
themselves.
Was that
Was
an
that an
inevitable
inevitable
problem?
problem?
No,
No,
that was
that
a
was a
avoidable
avoidable
problem. So
problem. So
here,
here,
Duryodhan's
Duryodhan's
obstinacy
obstinacy and obstinacy,
and then
and
you
then
could
you could
say
say
enmity or
enmity, or
not just
not
envy
just
but
envy, but
enmity
enmity
toward the
towards the
Pandavas.
Pandavas.
That
That
created
created
problems
problems
that were
that were
avoidable.
avoidable.
So,
So,
avoidable
avoidable
problems,
problems,
literally
literally
speaking,
speaking,
we learn
we
to
learn to
avoid the
avoid the
problems.
problems.
We'll talk
We'll
about
talk
how
about
to
how
do
to do
that
that
and why
and
it's
why
not
it's not
as
as
easy.
easy.
But there
But
are
there are
avoidable
avoidable
problems.
problems.
Now,
Now,
third could
third could
be,
be
see, when
when
the
the
Pandavas were
Pandavas were
in the
in the
forest,
forest.
at
At
that
that
time,
time,
Vyasadeva came
Vyasadeva
to the
came to the
Pandavas. He
Pandavas.
came
He
many
came many
occasions.
occasions.
But at one
But at one
particular
particular
time, he
time, he
came and
came and
told
told
Arjuna
Arjuna
that a
that a
war is going
war
to
is going
happen
to
in the
happen in the
future
future,
and you need
and
to
you need to
prepare for
prepare
it.
for it.
Therefore,
Therefore,
go to the
go to the
Himalayas
Himalayas
and
and
perform
perform
tapasya,
tapasya,
by which
by
you will
which you will
gain
gain
greater and
greater and
better
better
weapons.
weapons.
And now
And now
Arjuna would have
Arjuna would have
said,
said,
life in the
life in the
forest
forest
itself is
itself is
tapasya.
tapasya.
Now I'm a
Now I'm a
prince
prince,
and I'm
and I'm
living in
living in
such
such
difficulty,
difficulty.
and
And
now
now
you're
you're
telling me
telling
that
me that
I have
I
to do
have to do
more
more
austerity than
austerity than
everyone
everyone
else. I have
else.
to
I
be
have to
away
be
from
away
my
from my
family.
family.
But
But
Arjuna
Arjuna
went.
went.
And through
And
that
through that
austerities,
austerities,
he
he
became a
became a
much
much
better
better
warrior.
warrior.
So we
So
could
we
say
could say
this
this
falls in the
falls in the
category of
category of
the
the
strengthening
strengthening
difficulties.
difficulties.
Arjuna's
Arjuna's
austerities.
austerities.
Now,
Now,
when
when
now
now
in
in
real
real
life,
life,
when we
when we
face a
face a
particular
particular
problem,
problem,
it may
it may
not
not
that be
that be
that
that
simple
simple
to
to
know
know
which
which
problem is
problem is
inevitable, which
inevitable, which
problem is
problem is
avoidable,
avoidable,
which
which
problem
problem
is
is
strengthening.
strengthening.
But
But
broadly
broadly
speaking,
speaking,
any
any
system
system
of
of
classification that
classification
we
that
have,
we have,
that
that
is
is
like a
like a
map.
map.
Now, the
Now the
map is
map
not
is
the
not the
territory.
territory.
So,
So
in real
in
life,
real
there will
life,
be
there will be
problems may
problems may
fall in.
fall in.
It may be
It will be
difficult to know
difficult to know
which
which
category they
category
fall
they
in.
fall in.
We will
We will
discuss this
discuss
as we
this as
move
we move
forward.
forward.
But
But
broadly,
broadly,
the
the
problems are
problems are
of
of
these three
these three
kinds.
kinds.
So
So
now,
now,
if we
if we
consider these
consider
three
these
kind
three
of
kind of
problems,
problems,
they all
they all
require a
require a
different
different
approach.
approach.
So the
So the
problems which
problems
are
which are
inevitable,
inevitable,
the
the
approach
approach
is
is
tolerance.
tolerance.
Learn to
Learn to
tam
tam
stitikshasva
stitikshasva
bharata.
bharata.
And
And
the
the
problems which
problems
are
which are
avoidable,
avoidable,
it's
it's
simple
simple
avoidance.
avoidance.
And the
And the
problems which
problems
are
which are
strengthening.
strengthening.
Now, the
Now the
problems which are
problems which are
strengthening,
strengthening,
For that, what we need is, by the way, is my
is my
writing
writing
visible for
visible
you
for
from
you from
behind?
behind?
Not
Not
visible?
visible?
Okay.
Okay.
Will the
Will
white
the white
background be
background be
better?
better? Yeah.
Okay. All
Okay. All
lights have
lights
one
have
switch,
one
is
switch,
it?
is it?
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So you
So
not
you
be able
not
to
be able
see.
to see.
Okay. Okay. Let me
Okay, let
try
me try
that.
that.
This is
It's
better.
better.
This is
It's
better.
better. The dot.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So
the
the
text
text
not being
not being
seen was
seen
not
was
an
not an
inevitable
inevitable
problem.
problem.
Okay. So
So
it is
it
an
is an
avoidable
avoidable
problem. So
problem.
for
So for
the
the
problems that
problems
are
that are
strengthening,
strengthening,
we
we
need
need
perseverance.
perseverance.
We need
We
to
need to
push
push
on.
on.
It's
It's
difficult, but
difficult,
we need
but
to
we
learn
need
to
to learn
push
to
on.
push on.
So
So
broadly,
broadly,
this
this
is one
is one
acronym
acronym
IAS.
IAS.
The other
The other
acronym
acronym
is
is
TAP.
TAP.
We
You
need
know,
to
we need to
tap
tap
the
the
wisdom of the
wisdom of the
Bhagavad
Bhagavad
Gita
Gita
to
to
deal with the
deal with the
problems of
problems of
life.
life.
So
So
tolerance,
tolerance,
avoidance, and
avoidance, and
perseverance.
perseverance.
So
So
we are going
we
to
are going
have
to have
this
this
over
over
three
three
sessions.
sessions.
So each
So each
session,
session,
today's
today's
session, I'll
session,
be
I'll be
discussing
discussing
inevitable
inevitable
problems
problems
and
and
how
how
to
to
tolerate them
tolerate them
better.
better.
Tomorrow I'll
Tomorrow
talk
I'll talk
about
about
avoidable
avoidable
problems and
problems and
how
how
what all
what
we
all we
can do
can
to
do to
learn
learn
avoidance,
avoidance
and the
and the
strengthening
strengthening
problems,
problems,
how we
how we
can
can
develop
develop
perseverance.
perseverance.
Now,
Now,
broadly
broadly
speaking,
speaking,
this
this
is
is
associated
associated
with
with
certain
certain
concepts from the
concepts from the
Bhagavad
Bhagavad
Gita.
Gita.
Now, each
Now,
of these
each of these
concepts
concepts
is
is
complicated.
complicated.
So, it is
So
a
it is a
multifaceted
multifaceted
concept.
concept,
But it's a
but it's a
broad
broad
correlation.
correlation.
See,
See,
inevitable
inevitable
problems
problems
we
we
can
can
better
better
tolerate by
tolerate by
understanding the
understanding the
concept of
concept of
karma.
karma.
Hmm?
Hmm?
Avoidable
Avoidable
problems
problems
we can
we
learn
can
to
learn to
avoid
avoid
by
by
following the
following the
principles of
principles of
dharma.
dharma.
And
And
strengthening
strengthening
problems
problems
we can
we can
persevere
persevere
by
by
practicing
practicing
bhakti.
bhakti.
So
So
broadly,
broadly,
we'll be
we'll
having
be
three
having three
sessions
sessions
which will
which
discuss
discuss
about
about
karma,
karma,
dharma,
dharma,
and
and
bhakti.
bhakti.
So
So
hope
hope
everything is
everything is
clear till
clear
now
till now.
what we are
What we
going
are
to
going
do.
to do.
So to
So
put
to
it in
put it in
a
a put in a
different way.
different way.
See, there are
See, there are
some
some
problems that
problems
come
that
to
come to
us.
us.
These are
These are
inevitable
inevitable
problems.
problems. Hmm?
Those we
Those
need
we
to
need to
tolerate them.
tolerate them.
Now, some
Now, some
problems come to
problems
us
come to us
because of our
because of
own
our own
actions.
actions.
These are
These are
avoidable
avoidable
problems. You want
problems.
to
You want to
avoid them.
avoid them.
And
And
some
some
problems,
problems,
they are
they
like
are like
obstacles.
obstacles.
We need
We
to
need to
go
go
beyond them.
beyond.
Let me. So you can see my.
See my
As you can see, my drawing
drawing
skills
skills
are
are
a
a
part of
part of
supposed to be a
supposed to be a
strengthening
strengthening
problem.
problem.
He said
He
they have
said
been
they have been
writing this
writing
and
this and
drawing this.
drawing this.
So
So
I
I
studied in
studied in
Nasik.
Nasik.
So I had
So I
gone
had
to
gone to
Nasik. I
Nasik.
gave a
I gave a
class.
class.
So many
So
of
many
them
of
as
them as
students,
students,
co-students from the
co-students from the
class. My
class. My
school had
school
come
had
for the
come for the
class,
class.
and some
And
of my
some of my
teachers
teachers
also
also
came.
came.
So
So
after the
after the
entry
entry
class,
class,
one of
one of
my
my
teachers,
teachers
I asked her,
asked
how
her
did you
how did
find
she
the
find the
class?
class.
She
He
said,
said,
I should,
I should,
when I was
when I was
teaching you, I
teaching
should
you, I
have been
should have been
harder on
harder on
you to
you to
improve your
improve your
drawing.
drawing.
So
So
I told her, yes,
told
you're
yes, to
improving my
improve my
drawing and my
drawing and my
handwriting both.
handwriting both.
That is, our teachers will
Teachers will
always be our
always be our
teachers.
teachers.
But
But
so
so
those
those
problems,
problems
which
which
are
are
strengthening
strengthening
problems,
problems,
for
for
those we need
those
to
we need to
persist.
persist.
Now, in
Now,
the
in the
immediate
immediate
context of
context
the
of the
Gita,
Gita,
Let's look at inevitable, avoidable, and strengthening. In the
In the
context of the
context of the
Gita,
Gita,
what is the
what is the
problem that
problem that
Arjuna is
Arjuna is
facing?
facing?
Yes,
Yes,
he has
he
to
has to
fight a
fight a
war
war
that he
that he
just
just
does
does
not
not
want to
want to
fight.
fight.
Now, why does he not
Does
want to
he not
fight?
want to fight?
Yes, because of
Yes,
near and
because
dear
of
ones,
his reindeer,
especially
especially
Bhishma
Bhishma,
Drona
Drona,
Pramukhtaha.
Bhakta.
Now,
Now,
Bhishma and
Bhishma and
Drona
Drona
are the
are the
elders
elders
from whom
from
he learned
whom he
archery.
learned archery.
These are the
These are the
elders for
elders
whose pleasure
for
he learned
whose
archery.
pleasure he learned archery.
And now,
And
these are the
now,
elders
these are the
he is
elders
called upon to
he is
kill
called upon to
with that
kill
same
with
archery.
that same archery.
This is a
This
nightmare
is a
scenario for
nightmare
him.
scenario for him.
I just
I
can't do it.
just can't do it.
So his pain
So his
is a terrible
pain
pain
is a terrible pain
that he is facing. Now,
that
if
he's
we
facing.
consider the pain he is
Now,
facing,
if we consider the pain he's facing,
the problem of fighting,
the problem of fighting,
that problem that will
that
fall in which
problem
category?
that will fall in which
Inevitable,
category?
avoidable, strengthening.
Inevitable, avoidable, strengthening.
Okay. So the confusion is inevitable.
So the confusion is inevitable.
Okay. So
Okay. So
broadly speaking,
broadly
Arjuna was
speaking,
thinking that
Arjuna was
maybe I can
thinking
avoid
that
fighting the
maybe I
war.
can avoid fighting
And
the war.
that's why he said
And
that
that's why he said that
Nayotsyaiti
Nayotseti
govindam
Govindam
uktva tushnim
Uktva Tushnim
bahuvaha
Bahuvaha
Nayotsya, I will not
Nayotsya
fight.
I will fight.
Prabhu, if you are
So if you're
recording, can you
recording, can you
place it in
place it
such
in
a way
such a
that,
way that
Prabhu? Can you place
can you
it in
place
such
it
a
in
way
such
that
a
that
way
is
that
also
that is also
visible?
visible?
Or that's
Or that's
difficult?
difficult?
Yeah, I think that is
Yeah,
the
I think
problem. I had
that is
chosen the
the
black
problem.
screen
I
for the
chose the
online
black screen for the
audience,
online audience,
but I
but
think the
I
physical
think the
audience is
physical
more
audience is more
important.
important.
Okay,
Okay,
fine.
fine.
Was it
Was
from
it from
behind?
behind?
Okay, but
Okay,
what
but
has
what
been
has
written now
been
is
written
gone
now is
off.
gone off.
When did I
When did
change
I
the
change
color?
the color?
So
So
now
now
Arjuna's is
Arjuna's is
visible now?
visible now?
Behind also?
Behind also?
So
So
Arjuna's
Arjuna's
pain. So it
pain.
falls in which category? Is
So
it
it falls in which category? Is it
inevitable,
inevitable,
avoidable, or
avoidable, or
strengthening?
strengthening?
So now
So now
he thinks
he
initially it's
thinks
avoidable.
initially it's avoidable.
But then
But
the
then
problem
the
is
problem is
that it is going to
that
lead to
it is
another
going to
bigger problem.
lead to another bigger problem.
Because Arjuna,
Because Arjuna,
even if he decides he is not
even
going
if
to
he
fight,
decides he is not going to fight,
does that mean all the
does
Pandavas will
that mean
agree
all
not
the
to fight?
Pandavas will agree not to fight?
Does that mean Bhima is going
Does
to
that mean
agree?
Bhima is going to agree?
Very
Very
unlikely.
unlikely.
But
But
even if
even
somehow
if somehow
Bhima
Bhima
agrees,
agrees,
see,
see,
if
if
Arjuna
Arjuna
agrees not
agrees
to
not to
fight,
fight,
Arjuna decides
Arjuna
I will
says, I
not
will not
fight,
fight,
and other
and other
Pandavas
Pandavas
fight.
fight.
That
That
means
means
it's
it's
possible that the
possible that the
Pandavas may
Pandavas
get
may
killed
get killed
without him.
without him.
Even if
Even
that
if that
doesn't
doesn't
happen,
happen,
they may
they may
suffer far
suffer
greater
far greater
casualties
casualties
if he is
if
not
he is not.
fighting. So will
So
he
will
be
he
able to
be able
live
to
with
live with
himself
himself
if
if
they
they
all,
all,
his
his
loved
loved
ones, are
ones
killed?
are killed?
Even if he
Even if he
decides that,
decides that,
okay,
okay,
we will not
we will
fight,
not
and
fight
somehow
and
we'll
somehow we'll
persuade
persuade
Duryodhana.
Duryodhana.
Maybe
Maybe
Bhishma will
Bhishma will
persuade
persuade
Duryodhana.
Duryodhana.
Don't
Don't
persecute the
persecute the
Pandavas. You have
Pandavas. You
got
have
the
got
kingdom,
the
come
kingdom,
and
come
live.
and live.
Even if
Even if
Duryodhana
Duryodhana
agrees to
agrees to
that,
that,
will Duryodhana let
Duryodhana
all
let
those kings
all those
who have
kings
allied
who have
with the
allied
Pandavas go
with the
away scot
Pandavas go
free?
away scot-free?
Because before the
Before the
war,
war,
both the Kauravas
both
and
the Kauravas
Pandavas
and
were trying to get
Pandavas were trying to
allies.
get allies.
And they were approaching the same
And they were
kings.
approaching the same kings.
And now, say,
And now
when
say,
Ukraine and
when Ukraine and
Russia were fighting,
Russia were
more like
fighting,
America and
more
Russia are
like
fighting
America
for
and
Ukraine.
Russia are fighting for Ukraine.
So now,
So
whoever did
now
not
whoever did
support
not support
Russia,
say
say Ukraine and
Ukraine and
America.
America.
America
America
often
often
tried to
tried
put
to put
sanctions and
sanctions
try
and
to
try
hit
to
out
hit
at
out
those
at those
people.
people.
So
So
now it's
now
not a
it's not a
comment on
comment
geopolitics
on geopolitics
specifically, but the
specifically.
point
But
over
the
here
point
is
over here
that
is that
Duryodhana is a
Duryodhana is a
mean and
mean and
cruel and
cruel and
vicious
vicious
person.
person.
He would
He would
attack
attack
all those
all
who had
those who had
allied with the
allied with the
Pandavas.
Pandavas.
And then would Arjuna be
And
able
then
to
would
live with
Arjuna be able to
himself?
live with himself?
Had they
And
tried to
they tried to
support
support
me,
me.
and now
Now
because of their
because of their
support for
support for
me, now
me,
they are
now they
suffering.
are suffering.
And I am not doing
And
anything
I
to
am not
support
doing
with
anything
them.
to support them.
So
So
that was not an
that was not an
acceptable option for him.
acceptable option.
So now
So
when we
now
particular
when we
face a
particular
particular
face a
problem,
particular problem,
we may
we may
think it is an
think it is an
avoidable
avoidable
problem,
problem.
but
But we may
it may turn
but
out
turn
that
out
it's
that
not
it's not
avoidable.
avoidable.
Because
Because
avoiding that
avoiding that
problem,
problem,
now when I
now
talk
when I
about
talk about
avoidable,
avoidable,
there's a
there's a
slight
slight
difference.
difference.
When I'm
When I'm
talking about
talking
these
about these
problems,
problems,
see,
see,
often when I
often when
talk
I talk
about
about
problems,
problems,
we
we
often think
often
of
think of
problems as
problems as
something which is
something which is
coming to
coming to
us.
us.
That's what
That's
we
what we
refer to as
refer
a
to as a
problem.
problem.
Mhm.
Mhm.
But
But
what we are
what we are
talking
talking
about is
about is
not so
not so
much
much
the
the
problem that is
problem that is
coming
coming
to
to
us.
us.
What can
What
we
can
do
we do
about it?
about it?
That is the
That is
point
the
we're
point we're
discussing.
discussing.
So
So
it's
it's
is it a
is it a
problem
problem
that
that
we just
we just
accept it
accept
and
it
live
and
with
live
it?
with it?
Is it a
It's the
problem that
problem that
we
we
can do
can do
something by
something
which
by
we'll
which we'll
prevent the
prevent the
problem
problem
itself from
itself from
coming?
coming.
Or is it a
Or is it a
problem that we
problem
can
that we can
face,
face?
and through
And through
facing that
facing that
problem we can
problem, we
become
can
better?
become better.
So now
So
for
now for
Arjuna,
Arjuna,
he can
he
move
can
from
move from
thinking,
thinking,
okay,
okay,
maybe it's
maybe it's
inevitable, I have to
inevitable,
do
I
it,
have to
this
do
is
this
Kshatriya's
Kshatriya's
duty.
duty.
But then
But
could
then
it
could
be a
it be a
strengthening
strengthening
problem?
problem?
So the
So the
same
same
problem
problem
at
at
different
different
phases in our
phases
life
in our
may
life
be revealed to
may
be
be revealed
different.
to be different.
So we don't
So we
really
don't
know.
really know.
That's why I
That's
said
why I
this
said this
categorization,
categorization.
it's
It's
important to understand
important to
conceptually.
understand
So
conceptually.
let's look at
So
Arjuna's
let's
problem.
look at
At the
Arjuna's
very
problem.
least, it's an
At the
inevitable
very
problem.
least, it's an inevitable problem.
He has not chosen the
He
war.
has not chosen the war.
Duryodhana has chosen the war.
Duryodhana has chosen the war.
And Duryodhana has chosen to
And
reject
Duryodhana has chosen to
all
reject
possible
all
means for
possible
peaceful
means for
resolution.
peaceful
And
resolution.
therefore, the war has to
Therefore,
happen.
the war has to happen.
So now, which
So now,
problems
which
will fall
problems
in the
will
inevitable
fall in
category?
the inevitable category?
That's what we'll try to discuss.
That's what we'll try to
So what
discuss.
happens for us?
So what happens for
Tam
us?
Sitikshas of Bharata Krishna,
Tamam
it says learn
Sitikshas
to
of Bharata
tolerate
Krishna,
it.
say learn to tolerate it.
So when he's telling Arjuna
So when he's
tolerate,
telling Arjuna
now
tolerate,
what is he
now
referring
what
to?
is he referring to?
Is he meaning
Is he
that
meaning
when he says
that when he says
tolerance,
tolerance,
what is
what
this
is this
tolerance?
tolerance?
Is
Is
it
it
that
that
he's saying
he's
that
saying that
tolerate the
tolerate the
Kauravas'
Kauravas'
atrocities?
atrocities?
Or the
All the
Kauravas did
Kauravas
so
did
many
so many
terrible
terrible
things to
things to
you?
you.
Just
Just
live with
live with
that.
that.
Is that
Is
the
that the
tolerance being
tolerance being
referred to?
referred to?
No.
No.
The
The
tolerance
tolerance
is
is
the
the
pain
pain
of
of
fighting
fighting
Bhishma and
Bhishma and
Drona.
Drona.
So when
So
we
when we
talk
talk
about
about
tolerating,
tolerating,
it's
it's
important to
important to
know
know
that
that
what is
what
it
is
to be
it to be
tolerated
tolerated
and what
and
is
what
it
is it
not to be
not to be
tolerated.
tolerated.
So we
So
will
we will
look at
look
this a
at
little
this a
bit
little
more.
bit more.
Would you even
Would
like
you
to
like
read
to
the
read
next
the next
paragraph?
paragraph?
So what
So what
happens
happens
is,
is,
if we
if
are
we are
too
too
attached to
attached to
something,
something,
if we are
if
too
you're too
attached to
attached to
particular
particular
physical
physical
comfort,
comfort,
particular
particular
physical
physical
pleasures,
pleasures,
then our
then our
emotions
emotions
get
get
too
too
involved.
involved.
And then
And
we
then we
cannot
cannot
analyze
analyze
objectively.
objectively.
Like
Like
somebody is an
somebody is an
alcoholic.
alcoholic.
So if I
So if I
don't
don't
drink, I'll
drink, I'll
die.
die.
The
The
reality
reality
is, if
is,
you
if you
drink, you will
drink, you will
die.
die.
Isn't it?
Isn't it?
But the
But the
emotional
emotional
drama that
drama
goes
that goes
around that
around that
particular
particular
attachment,
attachment
that
that
prevents
prevents
clear
clear
thinking.
thinking.
Yes,
Yes,
please.
please.
Yeah, you can
Yeah,
read
you
the
can read the
second
second
paragraph.
paragraph.
Bless
Bless
me, O
me, O
Lord,
Lord,
with the
with the
intelligence to
intelligence to
put
put
first
first
things
things
first.
first.
Help
Help
me to
me to
see the
see the
superficiality and
superficiality and
temporality
temporality
of the
of the
things
things
related
related
to the
to the
body
body
and
and
focus
focus it
on the
on the
supersensitivity and
supersensitivity and
utility
utility
of the
of the
things
things
that,
that,
that
that
nourish
nourish
the
the.
soul.
Yes.
Yes.
Have we
Have we
distributed
distributed
copies to
copies to
everyone?
everyone?
As many
As many
copies as we
copies as we
had.
had.
Whatever
Whatever
copies we
copies
had.
we had.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We usually have 30 copies, my friend.
Okay,
Okay,
so 30 only
30
you
only
brought
we
in.
brought in.
I kept 30 for the other program. So I thought just to split the.
Oh, okay,
Oh,
we
okay,
could
we
have.
could have.
Just for
Just for
seeing
seeing
product. Okay, fine.
product.
Okay, I think you
Then
can
you can
share the
share the
copies
copies
then,
with
and
me,
it's
and it's
also
also
seen over
seen
here.
over here. Okay.
So
So
now,
now,
so
so
for
for
us,
us,
when we
when
are
we are
facing
facing
certain
certain
problems,
problems,
the
the
which
which
problem is
problems
fall in the
fall in the
category of
category of
inevitable.
inevitable.
So
So
inevitable
inevitable
problems, as I
problems,
said,
as I
are to
said,
be
are to be
tolerated.
tolerated.
So we
So
could say
we could say
broadly,
broadly,
there are
there are
three
three
things,
things,
you
you
know,
know,
past
past
events.
events.
What has
What has
happened in
happened
the
in the
past
past
cannot be
cannot be
changed.
changed.
And
And
sometimes we
sometimes
may
we
have
may
made a
have made a
mistake.
mistake.
Sometimes
Sometimes
somebody else
somebody
may
else
have
may have
made a
made a
mistake.
mistake.
Sometimes
Sometimes
somebody may have
somebody may have
deliberately
deliberately
misled us,
misled
not
us,
just
not
made a
just made a
mistake.
mistake.
Somebody may have
Somebody may have
manipulated
manipulated
us.
us.
Whatever it
Whatever it
is,
is,
whatever is
whatever
in the
is in the
past,
past,
it
it
cannot be
cannot be
changed.
changed.
Now we say,
Now we
no,
say,
no,
no,
if
no, if
only I
only
had
I
done
had
this,
done
and if
this, and
only
if
he
only
had
he
done
had
that,
done
if
that,
only
if
she
only
had
she
done
had
that.
done that.
Well,
Well,
no, there is a
there is a
time
time
to
to
look
look
at
at
what
what if.
if. But,
But
you know,
no,
generally,
generally,
what is
what is
important is to
important is
look
to
at
look at
what
what
is.
is.
What
What
if
if
versus what
versus
is.
what is.
What
What
if
if
it had
it had
happened like
happened like
this?
this?
What if it
What
had
if it had
happened like
happened
that?
like that?
Now,
Now,
what
what
ifs
ifs
are
are
not very
not very
helpful
helpful
as far
as
as
far as
correcting the
correcting the
past is
past is
concerned.
concerned.
Now, while
Now, while
preparing for the
preparing for the
future,
future,
we can
we can
consider,
consider
this is
this
what
is
I am
what I am
expecting will
expecting will
happen.
happen.
But if this
If this
happens, what
happens,
will I
what will
do?
I do?
If that
That
happens, what
happens,
will
what
I do?
will I do?
So,
So
it is
it is
for the
for the
what
what
ifs
ifs
is
is
good
good
as a
as a
preparation for
preparation
the
for the
future.
future.
Of
Of
course,
course,
that can
that
also
can also
cause us a
cause us
lot
a
of
lot of
anxiety,
anxiety,
and we will
and we
talk
will
about
talk
this a
about
little
this a
bit more
little bit more
later.
later.
But
But
broadly,
broadly,
when it
when
is
it
in the
is in the
past,
past,
it has
it has
already
already
happened.
happened.
And
And
so,
so,
in
in
general,
general,
past
past
events
events
and
and
whatever
whatever
is going
is
to
going to
happen because
happen
of those
because of those
past
past
events,
events
that
that
can be
can be
considered
considered
as
as
inevitable.
inevitable.
Now, when we
Now,
say
when we say
inevitable,
inevitable,
what are we
what are we
referring to
referring
over
to
here?
over here?
Why was
Why
it
was
like
it like
that?
that?
That is
That is
where
where
the
the
concept of
concept of
karma
karma
comes in.
comes in.
Now,
Now,
karma
karma
is a
is a
complicated
complicated
word.
word.
It is a
It
very
is a very
common
common
word,
word,
but it
but
is a
it is a
complicated word.
complicated word.
So, the
So the
word
word
karma
karma
has
has
four
four
different
different
meanings.
meanings.
Of course,
Of
many
course, many
meanings,
meanings,
but
but
four
four
major
major
meanings.
meanings.
And I
And
like
I
to
like to
summarize those
summarize those
meanings using
meanings
this
using this
acronym
acronym
ARC.
ARC.
So,
So
karma can
karma can
refer to
refer to
action.
action.
Karmanyevadhikaraste
Karmanyevadhikaraste
ma
ma
phaleshu
phaleshu
kadachana.
kadachana.
You have
You
a
have a
right
right
to
to
do
do
your
your
karma.
karma.
So,
So
karma
karma
refers to
refers to
action.
action.
Now,
Now
karma
karma
also
also
refers to
refers to
reaction,
reaction,
isn't it?
isn't it?
We
We
all
all
have to
have to
bear our
bear our
karma.
karma.
That means
That
what?
means what?
We all have
We
to
all have to
bear the
bear the
reactions to
reactions
our
to our
karma.
karma.
I hope
So
it's clear
it's
the
clear the
difference that
difference
the
that the
same word
same
has
word
two
has two
different
different
meanings.
meanings.
So
So
sometimes
sometimes we
sometimes the two
sometimes the two
meanings may
meanings
get
may get
messed up.
messed up.
So
So
if
if
somebody
somebody
suddenly
suddenly
slaps
slaps
us,
us,
says, why did you
why did you
slap me?
slap me?
That was
That
your
was your
past
past
karma.
karma.
No, this
No,
is
this
your
is your
present
present
karma.
karma.
So
So
actually,
actually,
it can
it can
refer to
refer
our
to our
actions
actions
that are
that
being
are being
done. It
done.
can
It
also
can
refer to
also refer to
reactions that are
reactions that
coming.
are coming.
So
So
now it
now
can
it can
also
also
refer to
refer
the
to the
connection
connection
between the
between
two.
the two.
For
For
example,
example,
the
the
karma
karma
and
and
results are
results are
connected,
connected.
action and
Action and
results are
result are
connected by
connected
the
by the
law of
law of
karma.
karma.
So the
So the
law of
law of
karma is
karma is
universal.
universal.
Karma's
Karma's
justice is
justice is
inescapable.
inescapable.
So
So
there we are
there they are
referring
referring
to
to
the
the
connection
connection
between
between
action and
action and
reaction to the
reaction to the
law of
law of
karma.
karma.
Now,
Now,
karma
karma
can
can
also
also
refer to
refer to
selection.
selection.
Selection
Selection
means
means
that we
that we
carefully
carefully
select
select
what
what
action we
action
do.
we do.
So, for
So, for
example, we
example,
try
we
to do
try to
good
do good
karma, we
karma,
try
we
to
try
do
to do
sukarma.
sukarma.
So,
So,
karma can
karma can
refer
refer
to
to
various
various
things.
things.
I was
I was
giving a
giving a
talk after
talk
that.
after that.
One young
One
man
young
came
man
to me
came
and
to
he
me and he
said,
said,
when I was
when I was
hearing this
hearing this
definition of
definition of
karma,
karma,
I was thinking, मैंने क्या कर्मा किया, ये complicated कर्मा समझना है मुझे. What karma have I done to understand all this karma now? So the word karma can seem very complicated, but it's not that complicated. I will clear these four definitions. So karma can refer to what we do. Karma can refer to what comes to us. Karma can refer to the system by which what we do comes back to us. And karma can refer to the specific action that we choose to do. So the action that can lift us upward, the action can help us, that can help us to take to a better place. So when we are talking about inevitable problems in our life, what that means is we are talking here about karma as a reaction. So I said that I'm going to IAS, we're talking about the karma, dharma and bhakti. So there are some problems that come to us as inevitable problems in our life. And those inevitable problems, they need to be accepted. They need to be tolerated. So one category is what has happened in the past. Now another is that what is inevitable is something which is overpowering. So for example, if there's an earthquake, can anyone do anything about an earthquake? No, maybe with advanced technology you will be able to predict an earthquake. But how far can you run away also if there's an earthquake that is going to? Some problems involve a power that is just beyond us. Now there are problems that are overpowering. And those can also be seen as they are coming as reactions of past karma. So let's try to understand the principle of karma over here in terms of how things happen in our life. So if we consider this is our lifetime, then for all of us, past karma, it's like a karma cloud that is overhead throughout our life. Now sometimes there's a cloud in the sky, but it's not raining. Now because the cloud is there, you know it's going to rain, but when it's going to rain, we don't know. Sometimes what happens is the sky is clear, suddenly a cloud comes and starts raining. Sometimes the cloud is there for a long time, but it doesn't rain. So for all of us in our life journey, there's a cloud of karma that is above us. Now from that karma cloud, there is going to be a downpour. Now this downpour, it will come in at one level intermittently throughout our life. Now of course, a major downpour of the karma cloud, if you consider this to be a cloud, a major downpour happens at birth. At birth, many things are determined. For example, our complexion may be determined at that time. Our IQ may be determined. Our basic wealth in terms of the family wealth of the family may be determined. Maybe the culture in which we are born, that is determined. So a lot of things are determined at our birth itself. Now a lot does not mean everything. But a major karma cloud comes to us at the time of our birth. That is something we cannot change. So for example now, many Indians go out of India. Now all of you come to Singapore. Many Indians go to say America or UK, where there are more white people. So what happens? Indian kids who are born there. No, how many of you must have heard this word ABCD? What is it? Indian? Yes, American born confused disease. So confused disease. So what happens is they're born in America, but they are Indians. So we often call them as coconuts. The why coconuts? A coconut is brown from outside but white from inside. So many of these kids, what happens is they have a brown skin, but by culture, by conditioning, they are often quite American. So
So
now
now
they
they
sometimes have an
sometimes have an
identity
identity
crisis.
crisis.
It's not a
It's not a
spiritual
spiritual
identity
identity
crisis. It's
crisis.
more of a
It's more a
psychological
psychological
identity
identity
crisis.
crisis.
Like
Like
I am
I am
American. I'm
American. I'm
Indian, but I
Indian, but
want
I
to be an
want to be an
American.
American.
So
So
now,
now,
no
no
matter
matter
what we
what we
do, we
do,
can't
we
change
can't
this
change
color
this
of our
color
skin.
of our skin.
Somebody can try
Somebody
to do
can try to do
plastic
plastic
surgery, but how much
surgery. How
surgery
much
can we
surgery
do?
can we do?
We have
We
only
have
so
only
much
so
skin
much
on
skin
our
on our
body which we
body
can
which we can
replace from
replace
here
from
to
here
there.
to there.
So
So
some
some
things
things
are
are
inevitable.
inevitable.
So
So
where we
where
are
we are
born, for
born, for
example,
example,
that is a
that is a
major
major
installment of
installment of
past karma.
past karma
That comes
that comes
upon us.
bonus.
Now
So
sometimes
sometimes,
we
we
may
may
go to a
go to a
particular
particular
place and
place
we may
and we
get a
may get a
job.
job.
Now when
Now
I'm
when I'm
saying
saying
past
past
karma does
karma
not
does
have
not
to
have
come
to come
only
only
as
as
negative.
negative.
It can
It
also
can
come
also
as
come as
positive.
positive.
Positive in the
Positive in
sense
the
that
sense
somebody
that
might be
somebody might
born
be
in a
born in a
very
very
uh,
uh,
wealthy
wealthy
family.
family.
Somebody
Somebody
might
might
not a
not a
wealthy
wealthy
family, but they
family,
are
but they
born
are
in a
born in a
family
family
where
where
the
the
parents are very
parents are very
caring and
caring and
protective and
protective and
responsible.
responsible.
Or somebody is
Somebody
born
is
in a
born in a
country where
country
the
where
law
the
and
law
order
and order
situation is
situation is
quite good
quite good
overall.
overall.
It's going
It's
through a
going
phase
through a
of
phase of
prosperity.
prosperity.
So
So
past
past
karma can
karma
come
can come
in
in
positive
positive
also.
also.
Right
Right
now, we'll
now, we'll
focus on the
focus on the
negative
negative
part
part
because we are
because we are
talking
talking
about
about
how to
how to
deal with
deal with
hard
hard
times in
times in
life.
life.
So this
So this
karma
karma
cloud is
cloud
not
is not
something which you have
something
to
which you have
live
to live
constantly in
constantly in
fear of.
fear.
Because if
Because
we look
if
at
we
our
look at our
life,
life,
good things
good
also
things also
happen to
happen to
us.
us.
We may
We
call
may
them
call
as
them as
lucky
lucky
breaks.
breaks.
We might
We
get a
might
good
get a good
job,
job,
or we
or
might
we might
start on a
start on a
project,
project,
and that
and that
project
project
suddenly
suddenly
becomes very
becomes very
successful.
successful.
We might
We
start
might
a
start a
business and it
business and it
just
just
grows.
grows.
So good
So
things
good
also
things also
happen in our
happen in our
life.
life.
But
But
we will,
we
for
will,
our
for our
purpose,
purpose,
focus
focus
on
on
this
this
principle of
principle of
inevitable
inevitable
problems.
problems.
Now,
Now,
for
for
inevitable
inevitable
problems,
problems,
it's
it's
important that
important
we
that we
learn to
learn to
tolerate them.
tolerate them.
Now,
Now,
tolerance can
tolerance can
seem
seem
very
very
difficult
difficult
for
for
many
many
reasons.
reasons. Mm.
One
One
reason
reason
is
is
that
that
we
we
don't
don't
accept that the
accept that the
problem is
problem is
inevitable.
inevitable.
If we
If we
don't
don't
accept that it's
accept it's
inevitable,
inevitable,
we'll
we
keep
will keep
fighting
fighting
against it.
against it.
So, if
So, if
somebody thinks
somebody
that a
thinks that a
particular
particular
situation can
situation
be
can be
changed,
changed,
then they will
then they
keep
will keep
fighting
fighting
against it, keep
against it, keep
fighting
fighting
against it.
against it.
But
But
now,
now,
sometimes
sometimes
the
the
effort
effort
required to
required to
change a
change a
particular
particular
thing
thing
may be
may be
so
so
much
much
that the
that the
trouble
trouble
itself
itself
becomes
becomes
far,
far,
far
far
bigger
bigger
than
than
the
the
whatever you may
whatever you
achieve
may
as a
achieve as a
solution.
solution.
So that
So
also
that
you have to
also you have to
consider. When I
consider.
say
When I say
inevitable,
inevitable,
it
it
means okay,
means okay,
how much is the
how much is
effort
the
going to
effort
be
going to be
required for
required for
this?
this?
So, for
So, for
example,
example,
if
if
somebody is
somebody is
working in a
working in a
job,
job,
and when they are
and when they are
working in a
working in a
job, at
job,
that
at that
time,
time,
maybe the
maybe the
work
work
environment
environment
is not
is
very
not very
congenial.
congenial.
Maybe it's a
Maybe it's
bit
a bit
exploitative or
exploitative or
abusive.
abusive.
Then
Then
somebody may say,
somebody may say,
no, I will
I will
complain to the
complain to the
HR
HR
and I'll
and
put
I'll
this
put this
boss in my
boss
place, in their
in their
place.
place.
But
But
sometimes if you
sometimes if
do
you do
that,
that,
rather than the
rather than the
boss being
boss being
corrected,
corrected,
we might
we
get
might get
disconnected.
disconnected.
Isn't it? There might
There
be a
might
whole
be a whole
conspiracy
conspiracy
against
against
we might
we
get
might get
framed,
framed,
and
and
sometimes we may
sometimes
just
we
not
just
have the
not have the
power to
power to
correct it.
correct it.
Now that
But
doesn't
that
mean we
doesn't
may
mean we
never
may
have
never
the
have the
power.
power.
Maybe if
Maybe
we
if
do
we
our
do our
job
job
faithfully,
faithfully, we rise
we
up, we
rise to
rise
a
to a
position of
position of
power,
power,
and then
and then
maybe
maybe
we
we
get the
get the
opportunity to
opportunity
correct
to
the
correct
curve,
the curve,
improve the
improve
work
the work
culture.
culture.
That's
That's
possible.
possible.
But
But
at
at
that
that
particular
particular
time,
time,
that
that
problem may
problem may
be
be
inevitable.
inevitable.
So I
So
just
I
was in
just was in
America for
America for
about
about
3 months,
3 months,
and
and
then
then
I was
I was
talking with
talking with
several
several
devotees who are
devotees who
more
are
from
more
a
from a
African
African
background. They're
background. They're
blacks. Of
blacks.
course, they
Of
have
course,
many
they have many
generations in
generations in
America.
America.
So they're
So they're
telling me
telling me
about
about
racism,
racism.
and now
And
also
now also
some
some
accusations are
accusations
there
are
of
there of
racism.
racism.
But
But
maybe
maybe
40,
40,
50,
50,
60 years
60 years
ago,
ago,
70 years
70
ago, it
years
was
ago, it was
much,
much,
much
much
more.
more.
Uh, In
In
in the
in the
first First World War as well as the Second World War. The Indians, the Indian leaders like Gandhiji and others, they actually didn't want to join the war on the side of the allies, of course, because the British colonized, so we were anyway forced to fight. But one of the reasons that Gandhi and Nehru both made in their speeches is that America talks about democracy, but there is segregation. And that means if you're going in a bus, all the whites would sit in front and the blacks will have to sit behind. And all the Indians were also considered blacks. So there was discrimination against Indians also at that time. So now, at that time, was that problem inevitable? Well, some people rose against it, civil rights movement came up, things changed. But at that time, that problem was inevitable. So sometimes some problems may be inevitable at a particular time, and they may change after some time. So we may have to consider when we are facing a particular problem, what is my power? What is my strength? And this is a theme which needs to come repeatedly. Versus what is the opposing power or the opposing strength. And here it's important. I'll make 2 points and then we'll open for question answers. So tolerance can come by understanding the principle of karma. But when we are understanding the principle of karma, how does karma work? That how much power do I have right now? So maybe right now my power is, as I said, if we are in a junior position in a company, our power is less. If we are in a senior position in a company, our power may be more. In our own family, if we are very young, maybe our voice has little value. As we grow older, maybe our voice has more value, more weight. So things change with time also. So broadly speaking, the way the world works, there are 3 factors. There is Prakriti. Prakriti is nature. And Prakriti works on a simple principle. That is, might is right. In Hindi, there is a saying, jiski lathi, uski bhais. So somebody has a stick and they claim this is my buffalo. They can use it by force. So in the animal kingdom, this is a simple rule. So that is might is right. Darwin talked about it as survival of the fittest. Now there are many things in Darwin's theory that are right, many things are extrapolations which are questionable. But this is the way the animal kingdom works. Now from Prakriti, we humans can move towards Sanskriti. Now Sanskriti is what? It is might plus virtue is right. Virtue is good qualities. Sadguna. Might plus virtue is right. So for example, say suppose somebody, I was talking earlier about blind, Dhritarashtra was blind. Suppose somebody is blind and they're trying to cross a road. Now, if we humans were just animals and that person is crossing the road and a car is speeding by, you say, you are blind, you die. You are unfit, you die. But we humans don't work like that. At least cultured humans don't work like that. So there is survival of the fittest. But in this case, if the person has a little bit Sanskriti, Sanskriti doesn't necessarily refer to which kind of clothes the person is wearing or which kind of festivals the person celebrates. It refers to how a person is guided in their actions. So if somebody has eyes, they'll say, okay, I'm visible, let me help you a couple of minutes, let me help you cross the road. So might plus virtue is right. So but for somebody to help a blind person, what is required is that person should not be blind, isn't it? That person needs to have Shakti. So in this case, what happens is from survival of the fittest. Sanskriti means it is not survival of the fittest. It is sacrifice by the fittest. Those who are fit, they sacrifice to help those who are not so fit. So survival from so humans can rise from Prakriti to Sanskriti. So now, however, humans have a capacity to go downwards also. So Prakriti is nature. What is Sanskriti? Sanskriti is culture. But we can go down from
from
Prakriti
Prakriti
to
to
Vikruti.
Vikruti.
Now
Now
Vikruti
Vikruti
is
is
vulture.
vulture.
What is
What is
vulture?
vulture?
Now
Now
vulture
vulture
means
means
that
that
vulture in the
vulture in the
Vedic
Vedic
culture at
culture at
least,
least,
what it
what it
means,
means,
that is,
that is
vulture is the
vulture is
bird
the
which
bird
goes
which goes
high
high
up,
up,
but from
from
high up
high
it
up
is
it is
looking
looking
down for
down for
corpses.
corpses.
It is
It
looking
is
down
looking
for
down for
dead
dead
bodies
bodies
to
to
eat,
eat,
consume.
consume.
So
So
now
now
humans can
humans
go
can go
towards
towards
Vikruti,
Vikruti,
and
and
Vikruti
Vikruti
means
means
might
might
plus
plus
vice
vice
is
is
right.
right.
Might plus
Might plus
vice
vice
means
means
bad
bad
qualities.
qualities.
So
So
in this
in this
case, what will
case, what will
happen?
happen?
Might
Might
is
is
always
always
required.
required.
Power is
Power is
always
always
required.
required.
Without power,
Without power,
nothing can
nothing can
happen. But
happen. But
in
in
this
this
case,
case,
the
the
power
power
will be
will be
used
used
deliberately to
deliberately
do
to do
bad
bad
things.
things.
See,
See,
animals may
animals may
fight and
fight
kill
and
each
kill
other.
each other.
Two
Two
tigers may
tigers may
fight
fight
over
over
such
such
common
common
food, or they
food,
may
or they may
fight over
fight
a
over
she
a she
tiger to
tiger
mate
to
with.
mate with.
But
But
animals don't
animals
go
don't go
about
about
killing
killing
hundreds and
hundreds and
thousands of
thousands of
others of
others
their
of
own
their own
species.
species.
They don't
They
come
don't
up with
come up with
ideological
ideological
technologies
technologies
to kill
to
their
kill their
own
own
living, their
living, their
own
own
species.
species.
But we
But we
humans can
humans
do
can do
that.
that.
As a
As a
humans,
humans,
we are
we are
capable of
capable of
going
going
both
both
ways from
ways from
Prakriti.
Prakriti.
We can
We
go
can go
upward,
upward,
so we
so
can
we can
become
become
better than
better than
animals,
animals,
but we are
but we are
capable of
capable
going
of going
downward
downward
also.
also.
When we go
When we go
downward, we
downward,
can
we
become
can become
far
far
worse than
worse than
animals.
animals.
So both
So
is
both is
possible,
possible,
Prakriti,
Prakriti,
from
from
Prakriti
Prakriti,
Sanskriti and
Sanskriti and
Vikruti.
Vikriti.
Both are
Both are
possible.
possible.
Now, why
Now,
are we
why are we
discussing this
discussing
over
this over
here?
here?
I'm
I'm
discussing this
discussing this
because
because
I'm
I'm
talking about
talking about
problems that
problems
are
that are
inevitable in
inevitable in
life.
life.
Right.
Right.
So
So
inevitable
inevitable
problems are
problems
saying
are
that
saying that
some
some
problems are
problems are
overpowering.
overpowering.
So we say,
So we
but
say, but
why is
why
there
is
a
there a
situation?
situation?
Well,
Well,
sometimes it's
sometimes
just like
just like
that.
that.
So
So
I was
I
in
was in
Canada for
Canada
some
for some
time,
time,
and then I
and
met
then I
some
met some
devotees who had
devotees
come
who had
from
come from
Ukraine.
Ukraine.
Now they
They
had their
had their
family, they
family,
had
they
their
had their
profession,
profession,
they had
they
their
had
whole
their whole
material and
material and
spiritual life
spiritual
well
life well
settled.
settled.
Met one
Met one
devotee
devotee
who
who
was a
was a
doctor in
doctor in
Ukraine,
Ukraine,
and
and
in
in
Canada he's
Canada
running
he's
a
running a
Uber now
Uber now
because he just
because he
cannot
just
get the
cannot get the
medical
medical
certification over
certification
there.
over there.
He doesn't
He
have the
doesn't have
money
the
for
money for
that,
that,
and
and
it's
it's
difficult
difficult
life, but
life,
he's
but he's
settling down
settling
over
down.
there. Sometimes the
Sometimes the
world
world
works in
works in
such
such
ways
ways
that
that
it's just
it's just
beyond our
beyond our
power to do
power to
anything.
do it.
So
So
when this
when this
happens,
happens,
it
it
may
may
we may
we
start
may
saying,
start
why
thinking,
is
why
this
is this
happening to me?
happening
Why
to
is
me?
this
Why is this
happening to
happening
me?
to me?
But
But
some
some
problems are
problems are
overpowering.
overpowering.
And
And
when this
when this
happens,
happens,
it's
it's
best
best
to
to
recognize that,
recognize that,
okay, this
okay, this
is
is.
inevitable. So
So
then
then
tolerance can
tolerance
come
can
in.
come in.
So many
So
of you
many of
know
you know
that
that
I need
I need
crutches for
crutches for
walking.
walking.
So I
So
have
I have
polio.
polio.
When I was
When I was
about
about
one, my
one, my
mother
mother
took me
took
to
me
a
to a
clinic.
clinic.
We were staying
We
in
were
a
staying in
small
a
town
small
in
town in
India,
India,
in
in
Maharashtra,
Maharashtra,
and
and
I was
I
supposed
was
to get
supposed
the
to get the
polio
polio
vaccine.
vaccine.
But because
But
it was a
because
small
it's a small
town, there's
town, there's
often a lot
often a
of
lot of
power
power
outage.
outage.
So
So
the
the
night
night
before we
before
had
we
gone
had
to the
gone to the
clinic,
clinic,
the power
the power
supply had
supply
gone
had
off,
gone off,
and
and
because of
because of
that,
that,
the
the
temperature of the
temperature of the
fridge had
fridge had
increased
increased
substantially,
substantially,
in which
in which
the
the
doctor had
doctor
kept
had
the
kept the
vaccines,
vaccines.
and neither
And
the
neither the
attendant nor
attendant nor
the
the
physician
physician
noticed that.
noticed that.
And when I
And
was
when I
giving
was
the
giving the
vaccine,
vaccine,
because the
because the
increased
increased
temperature, the
temperature,
germs in
germs
the
in the
vaccine had
vaccine had
increased
increased
substantially.
substantially.
And instead
And
of
instead of
preventing
preventing
polio,
polio,
that ended
it
up
ended up
causing
causing
polio.
polio.
Now, I
Now,
don't
I don't
remember any
remember
of
any
it,
of it,
but
but
my
my
first
first
memory of
memory
it is
of
when
it
I
is
was
when I
around
was
two and
around
a
two and
half
a
or
half or
three,
three,
and a
and a
distant
distant
relative had
relative
come
had
to
come
our
to our
home,
home,
and she
and
was
she was
consoling my
consoling my
mother,
mother,
saying, "Oh,
saying,
it's
"Oh,
so
so
sad, your
sad, your
son got
son got
polio."
polio."
And I
And I
remember my
remember my
mother's
mother's
voice,
voice,
very
very
calm,
calm,
clear,
clear,
confident.
confident.
She
She
said,
said,
"Whatever
"Whatever
he
he
lacks physically, God will provide you intellectually. Now, I don't know why my mother said that, but somehow that stayed with me. And as I was growing up, I couldn't play outdoor game like other kids could play. So a part of me felt that this is unfair. That what did I do to deserve this? But
But
then,
then,
when I
when I
started
started
studying,
studying,
reading, I
reading,
noticed
I
that I
noticed
could
that I
remember
could
things
remember
quite
things
well.
quite well.
I could
I could
articulate things
articulate things
clearly.
clearly.
I was able to
I was able to
grasp things
grasp things
also well.
also well.
So
So
I was
I
good at
was good at
studies
studies
overall.
overall.
Now there was
There
one
was one
kid
kid
in our
in our
neighborhood who
neighborhood
used to
who
go to
used
the
to go
same
to the same
college as
college
school
as
as I
school
was
as I was
going.
going.
He was
He was
very good
very
at
good at
athletics,
athletics.
and he would
And he
often
would
make
often
fun
make
of
fun of
me.
me.
He would
He would
use
use
hurtful
hurtful
names,
names,
call me
call me
hurtful
hurtful
names.
names.
So
So
I was not
I was
very
not very
happy with
happy
him.
with
But
him. But
then he
then
was
he
not
was
very
not
good
very
at
good at
maths.
maths.
And
And
his
his
mother told
mother
my
told my
mother
mother
that, can
that, can
your
your
son, can
son,
I
can I
help him
help
in
him in
maths?
maths?
So then my
So my
mother
mother
told me,
told me,
I don't want
I
to
don't
help
want to
him.
help him.
My mother said,
I said,
just,
just, no,
it's a
it's a
request, just do
request,
what
just
you
do what you
can.
can.
So then I
So then
was
I was
trying to
trying to
help
help
him,
him.
and
And
he
he
just
just
could not
could
get
not
it.
get it.
Simple
Simple
arithmetic
arithmetic
also, he
also,
was just
he
not
just not
understanding
understand.
it. Now, one
Now, one
part of
part of
me at
me
that
at that
time
time
just
just
wanted to
wanted to
laugh
laugh
at him.
at him.
But
But
then it
then it
struck me
struck me
suddenly
suddenly
that
that
actually he
actually
was
he was
trying,
trying,
but he
but he
just
just
was not
was
getting
not
it at
getting it
all.
at all.
So it
So it
struck me
struck me
that
that
just
just
as
as
I
I
had my
had my
physical
physical
limitation,
limitation,
he
he
had
had
intellectual
intellectual
limitation.
limitation.
That just
Just
as no,
as no,
even if
even if
somebody
somebody
laughed at
laughed
me,
at me,
somebody made
somebody
fun
made
of
fun
me,
of me,
said my
said my
physical
physical
limitation is not
limitation is
going to
not
do.
going to do.
So similarly, he
Similarly,
had
he
an
had
intellectual
intellectual
limitation.
limitation.
So
So
that's how
that's how
what I
I
realized is, if
realized
I
is if
could
I
turn
could
the
turn the
question around
question
and
around
say
and say
that,
that
if I
if
can say,
I can
what
say
did I
what
do
did
to
I do to
deserve this
deserve this
physical
physical
disability?
disability,
But I could
but I
turn
could
around
turn
and
around and
ask,
ask
what did I
what did I
do to
do to
deserve this
deserve this
intellectual
intellectual
ability
ability
either?
either.
So
So
life is
life is
unfair,
unfair,
but in the
but in the
big
big
picture,
picture,
life is
life is
fairly
fairly
unfair.
unfair.
Fairly
Fairly
unfair
unfair
means
means
sometimes we
sometimes we
get
get
more than
more
what
than
we
what we
deserve,
deserve,
and
and
sometimes we
sometimes we
get
get
less than
less
what
than
we
what we
deserve.
deserve.
So
So
when we
when we
talk
talk
about
about
karma,
karma,
it is
it is
not
not
just
just
negative.
negative.
Then we can
Then we
look
can
at
look
how
at how
life is
life is
fair,
fair,
and that
and
will be
that will
more
be more
positive for
positive
us.
for
If you
us.
look
If
at
you look
how
at
life
how
is
life is
unfair, it will
unfair,
be
it
more
will be more
negative for
negative for
us.
us.
So when we
So
are
when we
talking
are
about
talking about
tolerance,
tolerance,
that
that
tolerance,
tolerance,
some
some
things are
things are
just
just
overpoweringly
overpoweringly
negative
negative
situations come
situations
in
come
our
in our
life,
life.
and there's
There
just
is just
nothing we
nothing
can
we
do
can do
about
about
it.
it.
But that
But
does
that does
not
not
mean
mean
that it is
that it is
always going to be
always
like
going
that,
to be like that.
or
Or
that it is
that it
going to
is
be like
going
that
to be
in
like
all
that in all
situations.
situations.
This is the last point I'll
This is
conclude
the
with.
last one to conclude.
Have any of you heard
Have
this
any of
term
you heard
called
this term called
Midas touch?
Midas touch?
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
That is from a
That is from
Greco-Roman
a
mythology.
Greco-Roman
There's this
mythology.
character called Midas.
There's this
Whatever he would
character
touch,
called
it would turn
Midas.
into gold.
Whatever you touch, it would turn into
So
gold.
I was in Florida,
So I was in
and one young
Florida,
man came to me and he
and one
asked
young man
me,
came to me and he
"Have you
asked
heard of
me,
the Midas touch?"
"Have you heard of the Midas touch?"
I said, "Yes."
He said,
He
"Yes."
said, "I think I
He
have
said,
got the
"I
reverse
think I
Midas
have got
touch."
the reverse Midas touch."
So he said, whatever I
Whatever
do,
I
it
do,
just
it
seems
just
to
seems to
fall
fall
apart and
apart
get
and get
wrecked
wrecked
everything.
everything.
So
So
sometimes people
sometimes
get
people get
caught in
caught
their
in their
head. So I
head. So
told
I
him,
told him,
with
with
all due
all due
respect,
respect,
don't be so
don't be so
proud.
proud.
What I
But I
mean is
mean,
that nobody
nobody
has like a
has like a
reverse
reverse
Midas touch.
Midas touch.
Sometimes we
Sometimes
go
we
through
go through
phases in
phases
our
in our
life.
life.
And
And
sometimes in
sometimes
some
in some
phases
phases
nothing seems
nothing
to be
seems to be
working.
working.
And
And
sometimes
sometimes
everything is
everything is
working and
working
we are
and we are
wondering how
wondering
it is
how it is
working.
working.
So,
So,
like in
like in
cricket,
cricket,
sometimes it
sometimes it
happens.
happens.
A
A
player
player
hits a
hits
very
a
good
very good
shot,
shot,
and
and
then
then
the
the
fielder
fielder
just takes
just
an
takes an
outrageous
outrageous
catch.
catch.
Isn't it?
You
Where? This was
where? This was
supposed to be a
supposed to be a
sixer, and I
sixer,
got
and I
out
got
of
out
this.
of
What
this.
is
What is
this?
this?
And
And
sometimes
sometimes
the
the
player hits
player
a
hits a
shot in
shot
one
in one
direction,
direction,
and the
and the
shot goes
shot
in
goes in
completely
completely
different
different
direction, goes to
direction, goes to
sixer.
sixer.
So what
So what
happens is
happens is
sometimes
sometimes
we go
we
through
go
good
through good
phases and
phases
bad
and bad
phases in our
phases in our
life.
life.
So
So
Now, when this is happening for us, there are phases when there is overpowering negative situations for us. It's very easy to become very resentful. When we are talking about tolerating, tolerance is not simply because, oh, I'm just powerless. There are two
There are two
unhealthy
unhealthy
responses when there are
responses when there are inevitable problems.
Inevitable
Inevitable
problems
problems
are there
are
in our
there in our
life.
life.
One
One
healthy
healthy
response
response
is that
is
we
that
just
we
become
just become
hopeless.
hopeless.
So what
So
is
what is
hopeless over
hopeless over
here?
here?
So
So
this
this
cannot be
cannot be
changed.
changed.
We are
We are
trying to
trying to
accept that.
accept that.
But
But
from
from
this
this
cannot be
cannot be
changed,
changed.
nothing can
Nothing
be
can be
changed.
changed.
This
This
cannot be
cannot be
changed, that
changed. That
cannot be
cannot be
changed,
changed.
nothing can be
Nothing can be
changed. Even I
changed. Even I
can't be
can't be
changed.
changed.
So what
So what
happens
happens
is
is
that is
that is
unhealthy.
unhealthy.
So
So
if we
if we
become
become
hopeless,
hopeless,
this is
this
the
is the
response in
response in
tamoguna.
tamoguna.
When
When
inevitable
inevitable
problems,
problems,
nothing can
nothing
be
can be
changed.
changed.
Everything will
Everything
be
will be
bad.
bad.
So
So
this is
this is
not
not
tolerance.
tolerance.
Tolerance does
Tolerance does
not
not
mean that
mean
we
that
just
we
become
just become
passive and
passive and
hopeless.
hopeless.
Now,
Now
we can
we
go
can
to the
go to
other
the other
extreme
extreme,
and
and
we
we
can
can
become
become
hateful.
hateful.
Now,
Now,
hateful is
hateful is
where
where
it is
it is
often a
often a
response in
response in
Rajoguna.
Raju.
Rajas
Rajas
means
means
that
that
why is
why
this
is
like
this like
this?
this?
It should
It
not
should
be
not
like
be like
this.
this.
I
I
must
must
change it.
change it.
Why are
Why
people
are
not
people
coming
not
to
coming
help
to
me to
help me to
change it?
change it?
Why is
Why is
God not
God not
helping
helping
me?
me?
So
So
we
we
just
just
become
become
hate is a
hate is a
strong word
strong
over
word over
here.
here.
But
But
I'm talking
I'm
about
talking about
we
we
just
just
cannot
cannot
come to
come to
terms with the
terms with the
fact that it
fact
is
that
like
it is
this.
like this.
So
So
all
all
this
this
shouldn't be
shouldn't be
like
like
this.
this.
Life
Life
shouldn't be like
shouldn't be
this.
like
This
this. This
shouldn't be
shouldn't
like
be like
this.
this.
And
And
then
then
that can
that can
just
just
waste our
waste our
total energy.
energy.
Now, in
Now, in
contrast,
contrast,
in
in
between is
between is
sattva.
sattva.
So
So
here the
here the
question
question
is,
is,
what
what
can be
can
changed? This
this
can't be
can't
changed,
be
I
changed? I
accepted it.
accepted it.
But does
But
that
does
mean
that mean
nothing can be
nothing can be
changed?
changed?
No.
No.
Maybe I
Maybe
can
I can
shift my
shift my
energy to
energy to
something
something
else.
else.
So
So
sometimes we may
sometimes we may
decide
decide
that,
that,
like,
like,
what my
what
mother
my
helped
mother
me to
helped
do
me
is
to do
okay,
is okay.
physically,
Physically,
what has
what
happened
has
to you, you
happened to you,
can't
you can't
change it.
change it.
But that
But
does
that does
not
not
mean
mean
that your
that your
life is
life is
doomed.
doomed.
No,
No,
intellectually, you can
intellectually, you can
develop
develop
yourself.
yourself.
So
So
sometimes we may
sometimes we may
find
find
that
that
we are in
we
a
are in
work
a work
environment
environment
where,
where
we
we
can't
can't
change
change
the work
the work
culture
culture.
over there. But
But
within that
within that
work
work
culture,
culture,
we
we
can
can
work
work
properly, we
properly.
can
We can
grow. It may
grow.
be
It may
more
be more
difficult, but we
difficult, but
can
we
do
can
that.
do that.
So
So
tolerance
tolerance
is
is
not
not
just
just
about
about
passivity.
passivity.
It is
It
not,
is not,
oh, it
oh, it
cannot be
cannot be
changed, so
changed,
let
so
me
let me
just
just
burn
burn
within but
within but
live like
live like
this.
this.
So,
So
what
what
can be
can be
changed?
changed?
So, when we
So when we
focus on
focus on
that,
that,
sometimes
sometimes
that thing
that thing
cannot be
cannot be
changed,
changed,
but
but
some
some
other
other
area we
area
can
we
work
can
on.
go.
Sometimes it may
Sometimes
be
it may be
that
that
we go
we
through
go
that
through that
particular
particular
situation,
situation,
but while
but while
going through
going
that
through that
situation,
situation,
we
we
develop in
develop in
some
some
other
other
area.
area.
So, I'll
So I'll
conclude this
conclude
with
this with
the Gita
the
verse
Gita
only
verse
when you
only
go
when you go
back.
back.
See,
See,
2.14
2.14
is the
is
verse
the
which we
verse which we
discussed.
discussed.
Okay, before
Okay,
we go
before we
ahead,
go
let's
ahead,
read
let's
the
read
next
the next
paragraph.
paragraph.
How many
How
more
many
are
more
there?
are there?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
we talk
we
about
talk about
intelligence to
intelligence
put
to put
first things
first things
first.
first.
We'll
We'll
elaborate on
elaborate
that.
on that.
Who would like
Who
to
would like
read?
to read?
Let me not become indifferent or impotent when I am dealing with those physical concerns that affect the spiritual. Let me not become a passive spectator when faced with atrocity. Just as you did not want Arjuna to passively accept the misdeeds of his opponents in the name of tolerance.
Yes.
Yes.
So
So
Krishna was not
Krishna
saying
was not
Arjuna
saying Arjuna
tolerate
tolerate
everything.
everything.
So there
So
is
there is
2.4
2.4
is
is
tolerance.
tolerance.
2.14 is
2.14 is
tolerance. Tam
tolerance. Tam
Satiksha
Satiksha
Swabhava.
Swabhava.
But
But
before
before
that,
that,
2.13 is
2.13
what?
is what?
Dehinus
Dehinus
Vinyatade.
Vinyatade.
That
That
is
is
actually
actually
giving
giving
intelligence.
intelligence.
Now, what does
Now, what does
intelligence mean?
intelligence mean?
Intelligence means, Srila
Intelligence
Prabhupada
means, Srila
says,
Prabhupada
to
says,
see
to see
things in their
things in their
proper
proper
perspective.
perspective.
See
See
things
things
in
in
their
their
proper
proper
perspective.
perspective.
Sometimes if
Sometimes
you
if you
take
take
a
a
photo,
photo,
if you take a
you take a
group
group
photo
photo
with one
with
person
one
taking a
person
selfie,
taking a selfie,
then what happens?
then what
Whoever is
happens?
taking the
Whoever is taking the
selfie,
selfie,
they appear
they
very
appear
large,
very large,
and everybody else
and
becomes
everybody else
small.
becomes small.
Now that may be
Now
nice
that
if
may
you
be
want to
nice
be
if you want to be
prominent,
prominent,
but your face has
but your
become
face
too
has become
big
too
or your body
big
has
or your
become
body
too
has become
big.
too big.
They say, dude, I
They
don't
say,
want a
dude, I don't
selfie,
want a selfie.
maybe let us take
Maybe
a
let us take a
photo where
photo where
somebody else is
somebody
taking a
else is
photo
taking a
for
photo
us.
for us.
So
So
sometimes
sometimes
things are not in
things are
proper
not in proper
perspective.
perspective.
So
So
intelligence means to see
intelligence means to
things in
see
proper
things in proper
perspective.
perspective.
Now what does
Now,
proper
what does proper
perspective means?
perspective means?
That we
That we
understand
understand
which are the
which
big
are the
things in
big
my
things in my
life
life
and which
and
are
which
the
are the
small
small
things in my
things in my
life.
life.
So
So
once we have
once we have
understood
understood
what is the
what is the
big
big
thing and what is the
thing and
small
what is the
thing,
small thing,
then
then
tolerance comes into
tolerance comes
picture.
into picture.
What does
What does
tolerance
tolerance
means?
means?
Tolerance
Tolerance
is
is
to
to
keep
keep
big
big
things
things
big
big
and
and
it is
it
to
is to
keep
keep
small
small
things
things
small.
small.
So in
So
fact you
in
could
fact you
say
could say
it is
it is
first to
first
keep
to keep
small
small
things
things
small
small
so that we
so
can
that we
keep
can
big
keep
things
big
big.
things big.
So
So
small
small
things are
things are
small, that
small
helps
that
us to
helps us
focus
to
on
focus
big
on big
things.
things.
And when
And
big
when
things
big
are
things are
big, that
big,
is
that
helps
is
us
helps
also
us
to
also
keep
to keep
small
small
things small.
things small.
So
So
now
now
uh,
uh,
in tomorrow's
in
session I'll
tomorrow's
talk
session I
about
talk
what is the
about
big
what
thing
is
and
the
what is
big
the small thing.
thing and what is the small thing.
But we will,
But
before
we
that I'll
will
just conclude
before
with
that I'll
one
just
point,
conclude with one point
that when we are
that when
facing
we are
certain problems that
facing
are
certain problems that are
unavoidable in life, they are
unavoidable in
inevitable.
life, they are inevitable.
So now
So now
we with our mind,
we with our mind,
with what we
with
focus
what
on,
we focus
we
on,
can decide
we can
what is a big
decide
thing and
what
what is
is
a
a
small
big
thing.
thing and what is a small.
Dhritarashtra, there
Dhritarashtra,
is no
there is
description
no
in the Mahabharata
description in the
that
Mahabharata
before
that
Duryodhana
before
was born,
Duryodhana was born,
that Dhritarashtra was like
that
very
Dhritarashtra was
envious
like
of his
very
brother.
envious of his brother.
The natural normal
The
differences were
natural
there of
normal
opinion and
differences were
stuff
there
like
of
that.
opinion and stuff like that.
But Pandu was respectful to
But Pandu was
Dhritarashtra,
respectful to Dhritarashtra,
and Dhritarashtra also
and
got a
Dhritarashtra
very
also
good and
got a very
devoted
good and
wife,
devoted wife,
and
and
he
he
accepted his
accepted his
fate.
fate.
Okay, I'm
Okay, I'm
blind, because
blind,
of which I
because of which I
cannot become
cannot
the
become the
king.
king.
He
He
accepted that
accepted
fate
that
as
fate as
inevitable.
inevitable.
Now
But
that was
that
not
was
a
not
very
a very
big thing
big
for
thing
him.
for him.
See,
See,
okay, it
okay,
is not
it's
not a very
not a
small
very
thing,
small
but he
thing, but he
accepted it.
accepted it.
It was
It
not
was not
that
that
he was
he
living
was
in
living in
poverty. He
poverty.
was still
He was
living
still
in
living
royal
in royal
comfort
comfort
itself.
itself.
And
And
that it
that
could
it
have
could
gone
have
on
gone
that
on
way.
that way.
But
But
once
once
Duryodhana was
Duryodhana was
born,
born,
and from
and from
that
that
time,
time,
his
his
attachment to
attachment to
Duryodhana
Duryodhana
started
started
growing very
growing very
much.
much.
It was a
It was a
deadly
deadly
competition. We'll
competition.
talk
We'll talk
about
about
tomorrow
tomorrow
about
about
avoidable
avoidable
problems and
problems and
why
why
sometimes we
sometimes
don't
we
avoid
don't avoid
avoidable
avoidable
problems.
problems.
So what
So what
happened
happened
is
is
that I
that I
cannot be the
cannot be the
king,
king,
that I
that I
am
am
blind,
blind,
because of
because of
which the
which the
kingship has
kingship has
gone away
gone
from
away from
me.
me.
That was not
It
such
was
a
not
big
such a
thing for
big
him
thing
for
for
at
him for
that time.
that time.
But as
But
soon
as
as he
soon
got
as he got
Duryodhana, he thought
Duryodhana, he thought
Duryodhana should
Duryodhana
become
should
the
become
king.
the king.
So
So
that
that
attachment
attachment
became very
became
big
very
for him.
big.
And
And
because of
because of
that,
that,
what was a
what was a
small
small
thing
thing
started
started
becoming a
becoming
big
a
thing.
big thing.
And that's
And that's
how he
how he
started
started
playing into
playing
the
into the
hands of
hands of
Duryodhana.
Duryodhana.
And he
And he
started either
started either
allowing
allowing
bad things
bad
to
things to
happen
happen
or
or
allowing
allowing
terrible things
terrible
to be
things to be
done,
done,
or he
or
himself
himself
participated in
participated
doing
in
those
doing those
terrible
terrible
things.
things.
So for
So for
us,
us,
this
this
each one
each
of
one of
us,
us,
if
if
we
we
have
have
spiritual
spiritual
knowledge,
knowledge,
if we
if we
understand
understand
that
that
ultimately
ultimately
Krishna
Krishna
has a
has a
plan for
plan
my
for my
life.
life.
I will
I
talk
will
about
talk about
Krishna's
Krishna's
plan for our
plan for our
life in the
life in the
third
third
session
session
when we talk
when we
about
talk about
bhakti.
Bhakti.
But I'll
I'll
just give a
just
quick
do a
hint
quick
of
hint
this
of
over
this
here.
over here.
See, for
See, for
most of
most
us,
of
what
us, what
happens?
happens?
We
We
think my
think my
life is
life is
just
just
something is done to me and something is done by me.
me.
And that's what
And
we
that's what we
see
see
as our
as
life
our
story.
life story.
Oh,
Oh,
I made a
I
mistake
made a
over
mistake
there, or
over
this
there,
person
or
did
this
like
person
this to
did like
me.
this to me.
So often we
So often
feel
we feel
that what others
that
have
what
done to
others have
us is
done to us is
unfair,
unfair,
and what we
and
are
what we
doing
are doing
is not good
is
enough,
not
so
good
we
enough,
become
so we become
insecure.
insecure.
And both
And both
ways we
ways
become
we
filled
become
with
filled with
negativity.
negativity.
But
But
what
what
spiritual knowledge
spiritual
does
knowledge
is
does is
it helps us
it helps us
understand
understand
that
that
beyond what
beyond
is done
what is
to
done
me
to me
and what is done
and
by
what
me,
is done by me,
there is Krishna.
there is Krishna.
And
And
whatever is done to me,
whatever
whatever
is
is done
done to
by
me,
me,
whatever is done by me,
it is all
it
a
is
part
all
of
a
Krishna's
part
plan.
of Krishna's plan.
Now, how exactly it is a part of
How
Krishna's
exactly it is a part
plan?
of Krishna's plan?
That is
That
something
is
which has to be
something which has to
carefully
be
understood.
carefully
But
understood. But
it is
it
even through
is
these
even
inevitable
through these
problems.
inevitable
It is
problems.
not just that it is
It
the
is
nature of
not
the
just that
world,
it
you
is the
buy
nature of the
karma,
world,
so
you
I just
buy
have to suffer
karma,
it.
so I just have to suffer it.
Even through the inevitable
Even through the
problems,
inevitable
Krishna is
problems,
working for
Krishna
our
is
good.
working for our good.
And
And
Krishna will
Krishna will
take us
take
to a
us to a
better
better
place.
place.
So it
So
is
it is
not
not
that
that
just because I'm
because I'm
powerless, I just
powerless, I
have to
just
live
have to
with
live with
this.
this.
Yeah, that's what
That's
we have
what
to
we have
look
to
at
look
it.
at it.
But
But
yes,
yes,
Krishna is
Krishna is
guiding my
guiding my
life.
life.
And
And
through the
through the
problems that I
problems that I
find here,
find
if you
here,
go back over
go
here,
back over here,
what
what
can be
can be
changed?
changed?
There is
There is
always
always
something
something
which
which
can be
can be
changed.
changed.
And
And
Krishna will
Krishna will
guide us
guide us
towards
toward
that.
that.
Tadami
Tadami
buddhiyogam tam
Vyogantam
yenamam
Yenamam
upayanti te.
Upayanti.
Yes, says,
I
I
said,
will
I
give
will
you the
give the
intelligence
intelligence
by which
by
you can
which you
come
can
to
come
know.
to me.
So for
So for
each one
each
of
one of
us,
us,
when this
when this
bigger
bigger
picture
picture
comes up,
comes up,
then
then
tolerance
tolerance
becomes
becomes
easier.
easier.
And when we
And when
learn
we
to
learn to
tolerate in
tolerate
this
in this
way,
way,
the inevitable
inevitable
problems,
problems,
the the
the
pain
pain
caused by
caused
those
by those
problems
problems
becomes more
becomes more
if we don't
if we don't
accept the
accept the
problem.
problem.
But if we
But
learn
if
to
we learn to
tolerate and
tolerate and
accept the
accept the
problem,
problem,
then okay,
then
this
okay,
pain
this
is
pain
there,
is there,
it'll be
it'll be
there,
there,
but it
but it
doesn't
doesn't
have to
have to
become
become
bigger
bigger
than what
than
it
what it
is.
is.
It is
It is
there,
there,
it will
it'll
stay
stay
there,
there,
and I'll
and I'll
move on
move
with my
on with my
life.
life.
So
So
that is
that
what
is what
each one
each
of
one
us
of
can
us can
learn to
learn
do.
to do.
And this is
And
the
this
this is our
is our
consciousness,
consciousness,
and this
and
is the
this is the
problem.
problem.
Now, this
Now,
is the
this is the
pain.
pain.
It is
It is
there.
there.
Sometimes what
Sometimes
happens,
what
we
happens,
try
we
to
try to
let this
let this
pain
pain, we
focus on
focus
that
on that
pain,
pain,
and
and
then
then
that pain
that pain
starts
starts
filling our
filling our
consciousness.
consciousness.
Now,
Now,
this is
this is
something you
something
don't
you
have
don't
to do.
have to do.
What we
What we
can do
can do
is,
is,
okay, this
okay, this
problem is
problem is
there,
there,
this
this
pain is
pain
there,
is there,
but
but
there is
there is
something
something
else I
else I
can do.
can do.
This is the
This is the
pain in
pain
my
in my
life,
life,
but there is
but there is
something
something
better I
better
can
I
do.
can
There is
do. There
some
is some
higher
higher
purpose that I
purpose that
can
I can
pursue.
pursue.
There is
There
some
is some
seva that I
seva that
can
I
do.
can do.
There
There
is
is
some
some
plan that
plan that
Krishna
Krishna
has for
has for
me.
me.
We
We
focus on
focus on
this,
this,
then we will
then
be
we will
able
be
to
able to
move
move
forward.
forward.
So,
So,
how
how
not to
not to
move
move
in that
in that
direction,
direction,
and how to
how
move
to
in the
move in the
healthier
healthier
direction,
direction,
that we'll
that we'll
discuss
discuss
in the
in the
next two
next two
sessions
sessions
based on
based on
Dharma
Dharma
and
and
Bhakti.
Bhakti.
I'll
I'll
summarize what I
summarize what I
discussed today.
discussed today.
But before we do
Before
that,
we do
let's
that,
look at
let's
the
look at
last
the last
paragraph
paragraph
over here.
over here.
Yeah, who would
Yeah,
like to
who
read?
would like to read
Last two
last two
paragraphs.
paragraphs?
And bless me, O Lord, to tolerate or downplay as small things the forces that drive me away from the true big things in my life. Cultivating my spirituality by connecting with you and contributing to your service, even in this world at the physical level.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. So,
Thank you. So,
for
for
us,
us,
the
the
service to
service to
Krishna
Krishna
can
can
open new
open new
doors for
doors for
us. For
us.
Srila
For Srila
Prabhupada, when
Prabhupada,
he was
when
in
he was in
India,
India,
he
he
just did
just did
not get
not
much
get much
success with his
success in
outreach.
outreach.
For
For
30,
30,
40
40
years he was
years
doing
of
that.
doing that.
But
But
Prabhupada
Prabhupada
accepted that,
accepted
okay, this is
that this
not
is not
happening.
happening.
Does
Does
not
not
mean
mean
that
that
my
my
outreach will
outreach
never
will
be
never be
successful.
successful.
Prabhupada did not
Prabhupada did not
become
become
bitter.
bitter.
Okay, it was not
Okay, not
successful in
successful
India.
in India.
Let
Let
me
me
continue my
continue my
service to
service to
Krishna.
Krishna.
Prabhupada went
Prabhupada
to
went to
America.
America.
And
And
then
then
there it was
there it was
spectacularly
spectacularly
successful.
successful.
So
So
acceptance
acceptance
of
of
something which is
something which is
inevitable
inevitable
does not mean
does
that
not mean that
everything is
everything is
inevitable.
inevitable.
We
We
can
can
change in
change
some
in
different
some different
directions.
directions.
So
So
our topic
our
was
topic was
Gita for
Gita
Gita for hard times, Gita wisdom for hard times, and I hope you didn't have a
I
hard
hope you
time
didn't have a
understanding
hard
what is
time
discussed.
understanding what was discussed.
So, the
So,
first side it was
one,
the
the first slide it
overview.
was the overview.
We talked about
We talked
three
about
kinds of
three kinds
problems.
of problems.
So, what are the three
So,
kinds?
what are the three kinds?
Yeah, thank you. Inevitable problems,
Inevitable problems,
avoidable problems,
avoidable problems,
and then
and then
strengthening
strengthening
problems.
problems.
So,
So,
each of
each of
these
these
requires a
requires a
different
different
approach.
approach.
So, what do
So,
we do
what
with
do
inevitable
inevitable
problems?
problems?
Tolerate.
Tolerate.
Tolerance is what
Tolerance
is
is what is
required for
required
these
for these
problems.
problems.
And we
And we
discussed this
discussed
based
this
on
based
based on
on
karma.
karma.
That is what
That
we
is what we
discussed.
discussed for
Avoidable
avoidable
problems.
problems.
Yes, we
Yes,
learned
we learned
avoidance,
avoidance,
and that
and
is
that
done
is done
through
through
dharma. The
dharma. The
principles of
principles of
dharma
dharma
give
give
us,
us,
among many
among
other
many
things,
other
some
things, some
boundaries to live in,
boundaries to live in,
and the
and the
strengthening
strengthening
problems,
problems,
perseverance.
perseverance.
We want to
We want to
push
push
on
on
through the
through the
difficulties,
difficulties,
and that
and
is
that
done
is done
through
through
bhakti.
bhakti.
Excellent.
Excellent.
So I think the
So I think the
first part
first part
was
was
quite
quite
clear.
clear.
Now, after
After
that,
that,
when we
when we
discussed
discussed
about
about
the
the
inevitable
inevitable
problems,
problems,
so I
so I
discussed that
discussed that
which are
which
the
are the
problems that are
problems that are
inevitable.
inevitable.
I discussed them
Discussed
into
them
three
in three
parts.
parts.
First part
First
was
part was
about the
about the
past.
past.
So
So
past,
past,
now we
now we
cannot do
cannot do
anything about
anything
the
about the
past.
past.
What
What
ifs,
ifs?
they don't
They don't
help
help
us.
us.
If it is
If it is
about
about
the
the
past,
past,
it
it
is
is
not at all
not at all
helpful.
helpful.
Now if it is
Now, if it
about
is
the
about the
future,
future,
in terms
in
of
terms of
it is
it is
about the
about the
past,
past,
just
just
replaying
replaying
again and
again and
again and
again and
again.
again.
That is not
That is not
helpful. Now
helpful. Now,
future,
future,
if it is
if it is
preparing for the
preparing for the
future,
future,
then
then
it can be
it
helpful.
can be helpful.
So
So
now how
now,
do we
how do
come
we
to
to
terms with
terms with
that?
that?
Okay,
Okay,
it's
it's
from the
from the
past, it has
past, it has
come.
come.
It
It
is
is
inevitable.
inevitable.
How do we
How do we
accept
accept
this?
this?
We talked
We
here
talked here
about
about
how
how
karma
karma
has many
has many
different
different
meanings.
meanings.
I discussed
I discussed
ARCS
ARCS
is the
is
action,
action,
reaction,
reaction,
connection,
connection,
selection.
selection.
So
So
now
now
among
among
karma,
karma,
we
we
discussed
discuss
specifically about
specifically
how
about how
that when
that
we
when
go
we
through
go through
life,
life,
we
we
have
have
a
a
karma
karma
shadow
shadow
above
above
us.
us.
And from
And
that
from that
karma
karma
shadow,
shadow,
we keep
we
getting
keep
some
getting some
shower of
shower of
clouds.
clouds.
Shower. So
Shower. So
now our
now a
karma
karma
cloud,
cloud,
from that we
from
keep
that we
getting
keep getting
shower.
shower.
Sometimes it is
Sometimes it's
positive,
positive,
sometimes it's
sometimes it's
negative.
negative.
So
So
by our
by our
karma,
karma,
some
some
things have
things have
happened in the
happened in the
past,
past,
and we
and we
can't
can't
change them.
change them.
So
So
karma can
karma
help
can
us
help us
to
to
understand this. The
understand.
next
The
part
next
was
part was
about
about
overpowering.
overpowering.
One is
One is the
you can say
A
is the
is the
past.
past.
Overpowering
Overpowering
problems.
problems.
So about
So about
overpowering
overpowering
problems,
problems,
we
we
discussed
discussed
how
how
our
our
power
power
may
may
change
change
according to
according to
karma.
karma.
Hmm?
Hmm?
Our
Our
power is
power is
often
often
proportional.
proportional.
You could
You
say
could say the
if our
if our
karma is
karma is
positive,
positive,
we may
we
have
may
more
have more
power.
power.
If our
If our
karma is
karma is
negative,
negative,
we may
we
have
may
less
have less
power.
power.
And this
And this
material
material
world
world
works
works
according to
according to
power.
power.
We
We
discussed that
discussed
there
that
is
there
three
is three
things.
things.
There is
There is
prakriti,
Prakriti,
that
that
is
is
might is
might is
right.
right.
Now
Now
Sanskriti
Sanskriti
is
is
might plus
might plus
virtue is
virtue is
right.
right.
So
So
and
and
Vikruti
Vikruti
is
is
might plus
might plus
wise is
wise is
right.
right.
So
So
now
now
ideally
ideally
speaking,
speaking,
from
from
Prakriti we
Prakriti,
should
we
be
should
going
be going
towards
towards
Sanskriti,
Sanskriti,
not
not
towards
towards
Vikriti.
Vikriti.
That means
That means
say
say
if we
if
are
we are
powerless,
powerless,
somebody else should
somebody else
come and
should come
help
and help
us.
us.
Rather than
Rather
saying
than
this
saying
is
this
you are
is
just
just
powerless, you
powerless, you
suffer.
suffer.
But
But
sometimes
sometimes
we
we
might be in
might be in
a
a
bad place
bad
and
place
nobody
and
may
nobody
come
may
and
come
help
and help
us.
us.
So if that
So
is
if that is
happening,
happening,
we
we
understand that
understand
this
that
is the
this
way
is
the
the way the
material world
material world
works.
works.
And
And
sometimes because
sometimes
of
because of
past
past
karma,
karma,
our
our
power
power
may be
may be
less.
less.
So then
So
what do
then
we
what do
do?
we do?
Last part I
Last
talked
part I talked
about
about
that when
that
we are
when
trying
we
to
are trying to
tolerate,
tolerate,
what does
what does
tolerance
tolerance
mean?
mean?
So
So
okay,
okay,
not before.
not before.
Rather than
Rather than
tolerance,
tolerance,
come to
come
that.
to
But
that. But
before
before
that,
that,
so when
so
we are
when we are
facing
facing
hard
hard
times,
times,
there are,
there
are
are
not hard
not
times.
hard
It's more
times.
like
It's more like
inevitable
inevitable
problems.
problems.
So when
So
something
when
is
something is
inevitable,
inevitable,
At that
At
time,
that time,
there are
there
two
are two
unhealthy ways
unhealthy
in
ways
terms
in
of
terms of
looking at
looking
it.
at it.
One
One
is
is
hopeless,
hopeless.
that,
That
oh,
oh,
not only
not
this
only
is
this is
bad,
bad,
because this
because
is
this is
bad,
bad,
probably I am
probably I am
jinxed.
jinxed.
Like I have
Like I
the
have the
reverse
reverse
Midas
Midas
touch,
touch,
and
and
nothing can be
nothing can be
changed.
changed.
The other
The other
is
is
hateful.
hateful.
Why is
Why
it
is
like
it
this?
like
This
this? This
is
is
unfair. This
unfair.
is
This is
terrible.
terrible.
So,
So
yes, we
yes, we
discuss how
discuss how
life
life
is
is
unfair,
unfair,
but in the
but in the
big
big
picture,
picture,
it is
it is
fairly
fairly
unfair.
unfair.
That
That
instead of
instead
only
of only
looking at
looking at
why is
why
this
is this
bad thing
bad
for
for
me,
me,
why am I
why am
getting
I
such a
getting such
bad
a bad
situation, but
situation? But
sometimes we get
sometimes we
better
get
than
better
what we
than what we
deserve
deserve
also.
also.
So
So
therefore,
therefore,
in
in
between
between
these
these
two,
two,
in
in
between
between
being
being hope,
hopeless
hopeless
and
and
hateful,
hateful,
we can
we
try
can
to
try to
become
become
purposeful.
purposeful.
Purposeful
Purposeful
means,
means,
okay,
okay,
what can
what
I
can I
change?
change?
Nothing can
Nothing
be
can be
changed,
changed.
or this
This
should be
should be
changed.
changed.
Okay, what
What
can I
can I
change?
change?
Just
Just
having that
having that
attitude,
attitude,
what
what
can I
can I
change?
change?
Now that
That
attitude
attitude
will
will
give
give
us
us
some
some
positivity in our
positivity in our
life.
life.
So we
So
have
we
to
have to
choose.
choose.
For
For
each one
each
of
one
us,
of
we
us, we
discuss
discuss
how
how
tolerance is
tolerance is
important,
important.
but before
Before
tolerance,
tolerance,
it's
it's
intelligence.
intelligence.
Now, intelligence means
Intelligence
to
means to
know
know
which is the
which is the
big thing
big
and which
thing
is
and
the
which is the
small
small
thing.
thing.
So how
So how
can we
can we
make
make
something
something
big
big
and
and
something
something
small, which is the
small? So
big
the
thing,
big
which is
thing,
a small
which is a
thing?
small thing.
So it is
So it is
important for
important for
us,
us.
to some
To some
extent,
extent,
we can
we can
choose.
choose.
Okay, this
Okay,
is
this
not
is
a
not
big
a
thing.
big thing.
This is a much
This is
bigger
a
thing
much
for
bigger
me.
thing for me.
So we focus
We
on the big
focus on the
thing,
big
and then
thing,
once we
and then
work
once we
that way,
work that way,
we discussed
we
how
discussed how
that purpose
that
can
purpose
become
can
bigger
become
for
bigger
us.
for us.
The pain will
The
be there,
pain
the
will be there,
problem
the
will be there,
problem
which is
will be there, which is
inevitable.
inevitable.
But
But
whatever
whatever
what we
what
can
we
change,
can
how we
change, how
can
we can
serve,
serve,
if we focus
we
on
focus
that,
on that,
that purpose
that
becomes
purpose
bigger,
becomes bigger,
and the problem
and the problem
becomes a
becomes
bit
a
more
bit more
bearable for
bearable
us.
for us.
So
So
tolerance is not
tolerance is
just
not
simply
just
about
simply about
negativity.
negativity.
I can't do
I can't
anything,
do
so I'll just
anything,
live
so I'll
with it.
just live
But
with
it
it.
is,
But it is,
we try to
we try to
find some
find some
positivity in our
positivity
life.
in our life.
Now,
Now,
karma coupled
karma
with
coupled
dharma
with
and
dharma
bhakti
and bhakti
can become
can
much
become
more
much more
empowering.
empowering.
And we'll
And we'll
discuss about
discuss
this
about
in
this in
tomorrow and day
tomorrow and
after
day
tomorrow
after tomorrow
sessions.
sessions.
Are there any
Are there any
questions or
questions or
comments at
comments
this
at this
time?
time?
Yes, true.
Yes, true. First,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very
Thank you
much,
very much,
Kunti.
Kunti.
My
My
first
first
question
question
itself,
itself,
it's
it's
a
a
very
very
intellectual and
intellectual
very
and very
thoughtful
thoughtful
topic.
topic.
Uh, so what I
So
was
what I was
thinking
thinking
that
that
while
while
we want
we
to be
want to be
happy,
happy,
we want
we
to
want to
avoid the
avoid the
problems at
problems at
all
all
different
different
levels,
levels,
not
not
just
just
inevitable.
inevitable.
We also
We
want to
also want to
avoid the
avoid the
inevitable
inevitable
problems.
problems.
But then we
But then we
also have
also have
this
this
attachment and
attachment and
aversion, which
aversion, which
Bhagavad Gita
Bhagavad Gita
says that
says that
you
you should be
should
should
act
act
above
above
attachment and
attachment and
aversion.
aversion.
But
But
most of
most
our
of our
decisions,
decisions,
at least
at
in the
least in the
sadhaka
sadhana
stage,
stage,
are
are
Correct,
correct.
yeah.
are overshadowed by
Overshadowed by
attachment
attachment
and
and
aversions.
aversions.
So,
So,
and as
and
long
as
as
long as
Krishna says
Krishna
if
says
you
if
are
you are
making
taking
decision
decision
based on
based on
attachment and
attachment and
aversion,
aversion,
then
then
you're not
you're
going
not
to be
going to be
free.
free.
It
It
temporarily may
temporarily
give
may
you
give you
relief, but in
relief,
the
but in
long
the
term,
long
you're
term,
not
you're
going
not
to.
going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was,
So I was
I mean,
Okay.
okay.
That's good.
That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
So
So
tomorrow when I
tomorrow when
talk
I
about
talk about
avoidable
avoidable
problems, I'll be
problems, I'll
talking
be
about this
talking
a
about
little
this
bit
a little
more.
bit more.
See,
See,
what might
what might
seem to be
seem
an
to be an
avoidable
avoidable
problem for
problem
one
for one
person
person
may not
may
be an
not be an
avoidable for
avoidable
other
for another
person.
person.
Like
Like
somebody is
somebody is
not an
not
alcoholic, they
alcoholic,
can
they
just
can
tell,
just
okay,
tell,
just
okay,
give
just
it
give
up.
it.
And other
And
person
other
will say,
person
I'm
will say, I'm
trying, but I
trying, but
just
I
can't
just
give it
can't
up.
give it up.
Now, is
Now,
it that
is
they
it that they
can't give
can't
it
give
up?
it up?
Well,
Well,
no, that
no,
is an
that is an
attachment. It
attachment,
should
it
be
should be
given up.
given up.
But we
But
don't
we
know
don't
how
know how
deep-rooted the
deep-rooted the
conditioning is
conditioning
for
is
that
for that
person.
person.
And they may
And they may
require some
require some
time to
time
give
to
it up.
give it up.
So,
So,
it's not that Krishna is expecting that you come to an ideal level, then you'll get my help. And until you come to that level, then you're on your own. It's not like that. Krishna is ready to help us wherever we are. So In 3.26, Krishna says that if we are here, and this is the ideal level. Krishna says, jump. Sometimes you will tell people, jump up and come to this level. But what happens is, if they can't, they try to jump, they can't up come there, they end up going further down in trying to jump up. So Krishna says, don't give in. Na buddhi bhedam janayeda jnanam karma sangina. Joshet sarva karmani vidwan yukta samaj. What that means is, if we cannot take that large jump, then have small steps. And by those steps, gradually we'll come to that level. Joshet sarva karmani, incremental approach. So instead of thinking that all our decisions are simply based on attachment and aversion, you can think, sir, maybe there are 10 areas in our life. If we consider 10 areas, maybe out of that 8, our attachments are very strong. And maybe we can't change those right now. But 2, maybe it is that the attachments are little weak. And we can change. So what that means is that if we are attached to something, some particular situation can seem a big thing. I have to fix it. And you cannot fix it, then you just cannot live with it. So okay, that's the big thing, we can't make it small. But that doesn't mean we cannot do anything about it. About that particular area we may not be able to do. But there are other areas where it is becoming very clear, no, it is not that big. I can deal with it, I can live with it. So we all have to choose our battles. Like say, if you consider most of us, I think, are here are Indians. So now India has a lot of geopolitical tension with Pakistan and China. Now India has to some extent dealt with Pakistan. India has taken some strong action against Pakistan. India has not done that with China. We are not really strong. Now just because you're not strong enough doesn't mean India is ready to have China walk all over us. But we are not taking the battle to their side. So we have to choose our battles. And which are the areas where attachments are managed. And there we can start managing them, we become stronger. And as we become stronger, we're able to fight better the battles. So it is not that, that's again I'll repeat that point. It is not that Krishna is expecting us to on our own come to a particular level, then my wisdom will help you. Krishna says, Mama vartamanu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. Everyone is on my path. That means my path will work for you wherever you are. The way I put it is, from your place, at your pace, access my grace. Access Krishna's grace. That is essentially the mode of 4.11. So to illustrate this in a particular way, sometimes somebody may say, I cannot take these big steps. So Krishna says, you can have even smaller steps. Now of course this will take a long time. Le bahunam janmanam. It may take a long time, but Krishna is not rejecting anyone. So basically, we all can start from where we are and move forward. So some problems you may decide that this is okay, the work culture in this office is so terrible, I just cannot work with it. Okay, then you may just look for some other job. Now maybe there the growth prospects are not that good, the pay is not that good. If you had stayed over there, it would have been better for you. But no, it might have been better for you, but it's not better for me. Because what is a big thing for one person may not be that big thing for someone else. Or what is a small thing for one person may be a big thing for another person. So we have to recognize there's a lot of individuality here. And that's why, say, if we might have lived in a middle class or lower middle class situation, but if our children, we expect them to live in the same level of austerity that we lived. So that's we can't do that. We can't expect them to do that. Because they have grown up in a different level of physical comfort and other things. So that's okay. But some level of discipline, everybody can learn at whatever level it may be. I hope I'm making myself clear over here. Thank you. Any questions on the Matajis before we finish? Yes,
Yes,
please.
please.
My question was on the karma. So in karma, you mentioned asks and
Correctly.
Correctly.
C-part connection. I
C part
C-part
connection.
connection.
yeah, the C-part connection. I couldn't completely understand.
Okay, when
Okay,
I say
when I say
connection
connection
means
means
we talk
we
about a
talk about a
law
law
of
of
karma.
karma.
See, there is
See, there is
action here,
action
there's
here, there's
reaction here,
reaction here.
and
And
action
action
leads to
leads to
reaction.
reaction.
So,
So
action,
action,
reaction,
reaction,
and
and
connection.
connection.
So
So
now,
now,
how
how
act? So
so
karma can
karma can
refer to
refer to
all these
all
three
these three
things.
things.
The
The
term
term
karma.
karma.
Right?
Then
Karma can,
karma
when you
can
say
when
the
you say the
law of
law of
karma,
karma.
the law
The
of
law of
karma
karma
doesn't
doesn't
refer to
refer to
action or
action or
reaction. It
reaction. It
refers to the
refers to the
way the
way the
action and
action and
reaction are
reaction are
connected.
connected.
So in
So
that
in that
sense, I was
sense, I
talking
was
about
talking
C
about
over
C
there.
over there.
Is it clear? Okay.
Okay.
So we'll
So we'll
continue
continue
tomorrow,
tomorrow,
and
and
tomorrow I'll be
tomorrow I'll be
discussing
discussing
about
about
when
when
certain
certain
problems are
problems are
avoidable,
avoidable,
how we
how
can
we
better
can
learn
better
to
learn to
avoid
avoid
them,
them,
and why
and
is
why
it
is
so
it so
difficult.
difficult.
So we all
We
may
all may
understand that
understand that
okay, if I
okay,
get
if I get
angry
angry
and yell
and
at
yell at
others,
others,
then that
then
only
that
makes
only makes
relationships
relationships
worse. That
worse.
only
That
makes
only makes
situations
situations
worse.
worse.
But
But
then we may
then we
not
may
be
not
able
be able
to
to
avoid that
avoid that
either.
either.
So why
So
does
why
that
does that
happen?
happen?
And how can
And how
we
can we
better learn
better
to
learn
avoid
to avoid
avoidable
avoidable
problems?
problems?
That's what
That's what
we'll
we'll
discuss in
discuss in
tomorrow's
tomorrow's
session.
session.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Srimad
Srimad
Bhagavad
Bhagavad
Gita
Gita
ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Srila
Srila
Prabhupada
Prabhupada
ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Gaur
Gaur
Bhakt
Bhakta
Vrinda ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Jai
Jai
Gaur
Gaur
Premanande.
Premanande.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so
I'll
I'll
talk about
talk
some
about some
prayers
prayers
inspired by
inspired by
Bhagavad
Bhagavad
Gita.
Gita.
There are
There are
about
about
122
122
prayers,
prayers,
and
and
there's a very
there's a very
accessible
accessible
table of
table of
contents
contents
where
where
each
each
prayer is
prayer is
given
given
uh, as
as
a
a
devotional
devotional
affirmation.
affirmation.
So if
So
you have,
if you have,
there are
there are
prayers for
prayers for
different
different
occasions. If you're
occasions, if you're
feeling
feeling
lonely or
lonely or
abandoned, if
abandoned,
you're
if you're
feeling
feeling
spiritually dry
spiritually
or
dry or
disconnected, if
disconnected,
you're
if you're
feeling
feeling
directionless in
directionless in
life,
life,
if you're
if you're
feeling
feeling
cravings
cravings
rising too
rising too
much.
much.
So there are
So there are
prayers for
prayers for
various
various
occasions.
occasions.
And many
And then
devotees told
devotees
me
told
that
me that
in the
in the
chanting this
chanting
helps
this
them
helps
quite
them
a
quite
bit
a bit.
because they
Because
can
they
read
can
one
read one
prayer
prayer
and look
and
at a
look
picture
at a
of
picture of
Krishna,
Krishna,
and
and
that
that
calms and
calms and
centers the
centers the
mind.
mind.
So another
So
book,
another
this
book, this
is
is
Gita for the
Gita for the
CEO.
CEO.
HarperCollins, one of the
HarperCollins, one of the
biggest
biggest
publishers in the
publishers in the
world,
world.
and
And
they
they
wanted me
wanted me
to
to
write
write
something
something
on the
on
Gita
the
from a
Gita from a
corporate
corporate
perspective.
perspective.
Nowadays,
Nowadays,
in the
in the
corporate world,
corporate world,
there are a lot
a
of
lot of
openness or
openness
even
or even
eagerness
eagerness
to
to
learn
learn
some
some
leadership
leadership
lessons and
lessons
life
and
lessons
life
from
lessons from
ancient
ancient
texts.
texts.
From
From
Japan,
Japan,
Ikigai is
Ikigai
becoming
has
quite
become quite
popular.
popular.
From
From
Greece,
Greek
Stoicisms,
stoicism,
the daily
the daily
stoic is quite
stoic is quite
popular.
popular.
So they wanted
They
something
wanted
from the
something from the
Gita.
Gita.
So here
So here
I
I
presented the
presented
Gita
the
as a
Gita as a
conversation
conversation
between two
between two
people,
people,
and both
and
of them are in
both
the
of them in the
corporate
corporate
world,
world,
and
and
both of
both
them
of them,
one is
one is
expert in the
expert
Gita,
in
other
the Gita,
wants
other
to know the
wants to know
Gita,
the
and there are
Gita.
some
There are some
simple
simple
diagrams and images
diagrams and
that I
images
was
that I
drawing
was drawing
in the
in
class,
the
and
class, and
this is a
this is a
very
very
accessible
accessible
way
way
to
to
understand how the
understand how the
Gita can
Gita
help
can
us in
help
our
us in
daily
our daily
life.
life.
So I talk
So I
about
talk about
resilience,
resilience,
how we can
how we
face
can
the
face
setbacks and
setbacks
keep
and keep
growing,
growing,
how we
how
can
we
find
can
our
find
own
our own
purpose and our
purpose and our
innate
innate
talents,
talents,
how
how
especially we can
especially we
tap the
tap the
power of
power of
speech
speech
so that
so that
we can
we
reach
can
out to
reach
more
out to
and more
more and more
people
people
and we can
and we can
inspire them.
inspire them.
So
So
there are 10
there are 10
principles, and this is
principles,
also
and this is also
accessible,
accessible,
useful book that
useful
you may
book
want to
that you
give to
may
your
want to
friends
give
or
to your friends or
colleagues
colleagues
who may
who may
not be
not be
interested in
interested
or
in
may not
or
be
may
able to
not be able
relate
to
with the
relate with the
Gita,
Gita,
but they can
but they
relate
can
with
relate with
something
something
which is
which
more
is more
related to the
related to
corporate life
corporate
and
life
that
and
can
that
begin
can
their
begin their
spiritual
spiritual
journey.
journey.
So both
So
these
both
books
these
will be
books will be
available here,
available
and
here,
I'm
and
here
I'm
for
here
some
for some
time
time
to
to
sign the
sign the
books or
books or
answer further
answer further
questions.
questions.
Thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
So if you
So
would like
if
to
you would
buy the
like to buy
books,
the
I think they
books,
are
I
at
think they
the
are at the
counter
counter
behind.
behind.
Ajay
Ajay
Prabhu would be
Prabhu would
there.
be there.
The price of the book is, the Gita for CEO is at $12, and the prayers is $15. But if you buy the combo, it's $25. It's a typical Singapore. But I think as Prabhu was mentioned, especially the Gita for CEO, it's very practical. I mean, it's very hard to reconcile things. It's hard to actually navigate sometimes things in our corporate life, personal life. So even if you take one learning, it's as powerful as it can get, I could say. So even whether you don't get to read the whole book, I would say that some of this, the way Prabhu presents it, it can actually resonate and it can really help you. So I would strongly encourage, and we are very grateful for Prabhu to such elaborately cover this wonderful subject. So let's thank Prabhu from bottom of our heart by saying 3 times loud Hari Bol. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! And we all look forward to see you all tomorrow, Krishna willing. We'll have prasadam served downstairs. We need some help. So of course we need someone to serve, but also we need to clean the warmers, clean the prasadam serving area. So anybody wants to volunteer, please let me know. You don't have to raise your hand now, but definitely we need some help there. It's also a part of the seva. Yeah, so I have a pay now. I'll just send my QR code, Prabhu, to you. Thank you so much. Thank you for all taking time to be here. Hare Krishna.